Welcome back, New Smyrna Speedway here on ETV. Apologize for some of the technical difficulties, but sprint cars on the track for their 75-lap feature, final test and tune, warm-up session, whatever you'd like to call it. Once again, my name's Tony Stevens, joined alongside tonight by Paul Boswell, and we will be bringing you all the action here, not only in the sprint cars, but it's a double feature night. 75 laps of the sprint cars at 76 for the John Blewett III Memorial 76. A little bit later here tonight following the sprint cars. So while things tidy up on the racetrack as far as the final preparations go, we're going to take a quick break and make a few more tweaks on our end, but we'll be right back just in time for the national anthem and the starting lineup for tonight's sprint car feature portion of the online World Series of Stock Car Racing. Don't go away.
Where you could hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Welcome back, New Smyrna Speedway, and the final moments of the final warm-up for these sprint cars, and huge field ready to roll in this one. 20-some cars ready to take the green flag, and Paul Boswell, this is a tight bunch. You've got Fred Lampella, who we talked to earlier, fastest on the board right now, Vinny Sansone second, and really from them all the way back to about the tail of the field is only about 3 to 4 tenths of a second. And when you put this many cars that closely matched on a half mile, you are bound to get some type of excitement.
You're going to get excitement no matter what kind of car it is. These sprint cars, as much horsepower as they have, as lightweight as they are, and with open wheels, I think we're going to see some fireworks here tonight at New Smyrna Speedway.
Well, we've already seen some in this warm-up session. We've seen cars bouncing off walls. We've seen cones flying. We've seen cars flying. But the only thing we haven't seen flying are birds, and I'm sure we'll be seeing birds flying before the night's over with. And I'm not talking about the tweet kind either. However, you might take to Twitter to vent some of those frustrations in the process. Just don't do them with me. If you like, you can find me on there. I'm at TStevens92. And, of course, you can find the ETV bunch on there as well. and all kinds of fun stuff happening on Twitter when it comes to iRacing and racing in general, for that matter, is their car heats the turn 4 fence. That's one thing we're seeing right now, Paul. So many guys are pitching these cars into the corner so hard, trying to get them to rotate, trying to stay on the right rear, that a lot of drivers having issues holding on to those cars, and we're seeing a lot of them back them right in the fence on corner entry.
Yeah, these guys are really trying to get everything they can out of them, and they use these test sessions. You know, something different from the virtual world compared to the real world is if you tear this car up in your test session or in your warm-up session, you just reset back to the pits and you've got a brand new race car. So a lot of these guys are using this test session to see just how far to the edge they can push this race car without losing control. And I think it actually helps, because come race time, these guys are going to know exactly how far they can push it.
So cars gridding up on the pit lane. 2 pace laps before we turn them loose for 75 circuits here at the New Smyrna Speedway. Let's take you through tonight's starting lineup. Again, 24 cars set to take the green flag. And on the front row, the 2 heat race winners, Vinny Sansone in the orange and white number 80. Fred Lampella in the number 3 will start to his outside. Nathan Saxon is scheduled to start 3rd in the 16 car. Brandon Buchberger will start 4th. Chris Overland, after charging from the back of his heat race, he'll start in position number 5. Ronald Williams, the 07, will flank him. Fred Ferry Jr. in the Payless Supermarkets Anderson Speedway car starts 7th. James Stone, he'll roll off in position number 8. Daniel Muse in the 15 in this race will be position number 9. And Timothy Kelly Jr. in the 4 car will start 10th. Layla Wilson, the 74, rolls off 11th. Brett Waldrop in the 48 is 12th. Joe Annunziata, 13th. Corey Stockert, 14th. And Kyle Young, the number 93, will start 15th. Chet Wheeler Jr. will be wheeling it from the 16th spot. TJ Graves in that 22 car, he'll be fast. We saw that in his heat race before a miscue. He's going to start the night 17th. Bradley Hayward rolls 18th, and Zach Brewer, the driver out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, starts 19th, with Eric Nordhoff in 20th. Ryan Borges, after issues in his heat, he'll start 21st. Craig Weigel, 22nd. Jeff Rogers, the number 92, starts 23rd. And Colin Penn, the first car out of the first heat race, barely makes it in the show. He'll start shotgun on the field in the 24th spot. Pace car rolling off at turn number 2. And Paul, we're just moments away from turning loose one heck of a field of sprint cars to do battle here on the banks of New Smyrna Speedway.
75 laps of sprint cars. This is going to be interesting. It's a long race for these guys, and the question is, who's going to have something there at the end?
Pace car is on, green flag is out, and just as quickly as he took to the front in this heat race, he tries to do it in this one, Vinny Sansone, but he is not going to be able to do it. Fred Lampella around the outside in the number 3 machine, as Sansone got sideways in turn number 1, and really starting on the bottom, Paul, is not always the best position here at New Smyrna. I think Vinny Sansone showed that. That car got way out from under him, and really there's a little bit less banking down there, and that might explain why.
There's less banking and a little bit less grip. I know from experience, I have a lot of laps around this place in the late model, and especially in 1 and 2, you definitely want to be about a half a car width off of the bottom.
Of course, Sansone drove it in there on cold tires, and it just didn't quite work for him, so now he is playing catch-up. We've got trouble on the speedway. Caution is out, and it's going to involve actually a couple of cars. Looks like TJ Graves and Kyle Young both involved, the 22 and the number 93 out of turn number 2. And everybody checked up, looked like a chain reaction, and a few guys got caught up in it. Graves, one of them. Zach Brewer also got caught up in it. He got swept into the outside wall, but it all started ahead of them with Joe Annunziata and Brett Waldrop. Waldrop checked up, and it looked like Annunziata. Well, actually, I take that. Waldrop checked up because Layla Wilson got sideways in front of him, and it just absolutely accordioned on back, and that brings out the first caution of the night, Paul. So a little bit of a short run at the beginning of this one, but just enough maybe to get the butterflies out of the stomach and get everybody settled down and ready to roll for the next 70 laps or so.
nerves and cold tires definitely playing a factor in that one, I think. It takes a lap or two to get things warmed up a little bit, and we saw a lot of cars slipping sideways that right there at the beginning, and unfortunately we get our first caution early on.
So yellows never a good thing when you're on the racetrack, especially when you're involved in them. If you're TJ Graves or Zach Brewer or Kyle Young, it doesn't start your night off very well. In fact, Kyle Young now being scored 1 lap down. Zach Brewer, the former winner at Bristol and Charlotte Motor Speedways in the NASCAR Dash Series, well, he too being showed a couple of laps down now in the 24th spot. This is starting to look like a night at Bowman Gray for him, the way things are getting slam-bang-fested already. But you know what? That's the cool thing about a guy like Zach Brewer who runs at the stadium. He's used to nights like this where things just don't go your way. He's used to nights where helmets come flying into your race car. He's used to nights when you're the guy throwing the helmet at somebody's race car. And there's nights when you win a trophy too. And it all happens in the course of about a week at Bowman Gray Stadium.
Yeah, well, to go from Bowman Gray to New Smyrna Speedway, that's a pretty big jump here tonight for him.
It is. Of course, Zach has experience, as we said, at places like Bristol, Atlanta, in the Dash Series, Charlotte. He's run the big tracks. He's run the small tracks. Of course, Bowman Gray right around his home, and has really fallen in love with some of the late models and the modifieds in that particular area. And he's a pretty good shoe. I mean, he's kind of come off where you thought maybe his career was going to be going when he was at a younger age, but still one heck of a wheel man. But again, his night not going the way that he wanted. Pace car crosses the line, and we will complete one more lap. The lights will go out this time. 7 laps in the books. We'll complete lap number 8 when we come to the green flag. Top 10, they look like this. Fred Lampella, Vinny Sansone, Brandon Buchberger, Ronald Williams, and Nathan Saxon. Fred Ferry Jr. currently being scored 6th, Tim Kelly Jr. 7th, Daniel Muse 8th, Taylor Wilson in 9th, and Brett Waldrop after that little scuff up in turn number 1. He is being shown in the 10th position. Single file restarts for the sprint cars here tonight. Pace car will make the hard left-hand turn off the banking, and very, very quickly, as we expected, Fred Lampella hard on the loud pedal. He'll motor it off into turn number 1, slide up the racetrack slightly. In fact, it's a car link now. Ravini Sansone now make it 2 as they work into turn number 3. And we've got him in turn number 4. Looked like one car about slammed the wall out of turn number 2. That was Layla Wilson in the 74, but it looked like no major damage. Must have just barely made contact because that car is still rolling. But it was a scary moment on the restart.
Definitely a scary moment, and I'm excited because now we've got Lampella out front of Sansone, and if he can hold on to this thing with his head as strong as Sansone's been this weekend, it'll be interesting.
And we've got trouble on the speedway, bringing out the second caution of the night. Really don't see anything except for Craig Weigel slow on the back straightaway that could have brought out this yellow. We're in the race like this every night where there was a lot of debris cautions, it seemed like. Actually, check that here in the front straightaway right in front of me. It was the number 15 machine, excuse me. A couple of synchronized spins going on. Daniel Muse was involved and kept it rolling, and it looked like he was involved as well as Tim Kelly Jr. Both cars on their own, Paul. Neither one making contact with each other, just synchronously spun off turn 4. Neither one really hit anything very hard, and away they went. So I guess you put that one in the luck bank.
Yeah, simultaneous, kind of gracious, actually.
Really, if you had to pick graceful for a spin, that was it. Usually you see 2 cars spinning, you assume there was contact, but it just shows you how hard these guys are racing with each other. They're driving in the corner so hard and trying to hang on to these things that they both spun simultaneously. They were, racing each other, but a couple car lengths apart, but nonetheless, that was, I don't think I've seen that really ever in my racing career. That's been a long time.
Yeah, the only time I've seen something similar is if, maybe a little bit of oil on the racetrack from the previous wreck or something like that they both get into, but definitely pretty interesting, especially to see in iRacing something like that happen. But still 20 cars on this lead lap. Early on in the race, we've completed 13 laps. Fred Lampella with that great start, the initial start, out in front of Vinny Sansone.
Of course, while we're under caution, we do want to give a couple of shout-outs and thank yous to some more of our sponsors making tonight's broadcast possible, including Von Erichs. Texas country punk rock and roll is what they call it. I'm not even sure those 3 or 4 words go together, but they make it go together. The Von Erichs wear this description as a badge of honor. The Von Erichs draw heavily from the country and gospel sounds that echoed through their homes when they were kids, in addition to the punk rock and metal they discovered as the typical rebellious teenager. Known for their blistering live shows, they're a must-see for any music fan. Make sure you find out where they're playing. Von Erichs. Check them out whenever you get an opportunity. And our friends at Loud Pedal Productions. Not long after 321 was uploaded to YouTube, Short Track America took notice. Keep your eyes peeled for some very special things from Loud Pedal Productions in the summer of 2014. And don't forget, they got some cool stuff coming up from the Chili Bowl this past weekend as well. Loud Pedal, cutting-edge dirt track video productions, and a word of warning, viewing prior to bedtime has been known to cause much insomnia. Go to their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudpedal. And the USTRA, the United Short Track Racing Association. They enable and support grassroots short track racing endeavors with events like this, the World Series of Online Stock Car Racing, the annual iRacePink.com event, as well as providing support to short track racing sim leagues and short track racing venues across this entire country. Check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/the-USTRA. And just like that, we are back to racing. Fred Lampella jets out to the lead once again over Vinny Sansone, Paul.
Sansone able to stretch out over third place Bookberger. Brandon Bookberger has his hands full with Ronald Williams and Nathan Saxon right behind him. That's your top 5 as they stretch away from the rest of the pack.
And that really one of the best battles on the racetrack right now. That battle for fourth, Williams and Saxon going at it. And these two came from that second heat race, so this is their second experience and competition with each other tonight. As you ride on board the 16 of Nathan Saxon, you see that 07 of Ronald Williams, and you see the 20 of Brandon Bookberger as they go by TJ Graves. And you saw it, that closing rate with that car on the apron shows you just how fast these sprint cars are hauling the mail here, Paul.
Absolutely, over 140 miles an hour diving off into the corners at New Smyrna Speedway, and they're able to maintain over 80 through the corners.
Big trouble. Tim Kelly Jr. goes around turn number 3, Paul, and he spun like a top after some contact in the right rear, no less. Zach Brewer got into him. Nothing intentional, it looked like. Kind of really a freak thing. Brewer came off the wall just a little bit, and Tim Kelly Jr. was there, made contact. Kelly went nose first into the wall and spun probably a good 6 or 8 times on the back straightaway, and that will bring out the third caution of the night, Paul.
Tough break for those guys. Looks like they just both ran out of room coming off of turn 2. The track really tightens up on exit of turn 2 right there, and 2 cars can't fit in one spot, and that's the result of it right there.
It's kind of weird. You look at this racetrack, you think, why couldn't they use that extra real estate in turn 4 on turn number 2? But you're right, it does really close up there, and it's not so much the wall necessarily closing up. I mean, yeah, it does a little bit, but it's just the geometry of that corner makes it to where you have to use all that racetrack.
There's something with the way the banking is and the transition. You've got higher banking through the corner, you're transitioning to a flat straightaway, and I think that kind of sends you right towards the wall and tightens the track up there on the exit.
Well, we'll see how these guys handle it in just a few more minutes. 22 laps complete this time by Fred Lampella, the leader. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go away.
Radio Network. Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks. HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com. Hey, JD here with ETV Live, and let me tell you something. If it's too big for the pickup truck and you need to move it, there's only one trucking company you need to call, and don't bother with the Yellow Pages, cowboy. I'll give you that number in a minute. Manufactured goods, automotive, technical equipment, furniture, even if you need a reefer, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated is the only choice, cowboy. With locations in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, Rancho Cucamonga, California, if you need to move it, store it, and keep it cold, you need to call Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated. Long haul, short haul, or just across town, Gary Mercer has the best trained and qualified drivers to get your load from point A to point B with professionalism and on time. So remember, Hoss, if it don't fit in a pickup truck, you're going to need a real truck cowboy. Sponsors of ETV Live's Friday Night Showdown, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated, 1-800-668-2980.
Welcome back, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Sprint cars at speed. You saw their picture-in-picture, the restart, as once again Fred Lampella got ahead of Vinny Sansone, and it looks like same song, different verse each and every time we go back to Green, Paul. It is Lampella and Sansone by far at this point the class of the field.
It is, but it's early on, so, you know, are these guys using too much early? That's yet to be determined. Are these guys that are riding 5th, 6th, 7th, are they saving a little bit for the end? It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out as we get deeper into this race, but already 28 laps in the books. Lampella and Sansone, as you said, the class of the field, but it's been a good battle from 3rd through 5th the entire race between Brandon Bookberger, Ronald Williams, and Nathan Saxon.
And that still is one of the better battles. Oh, hello, Ronald Williams. As soon as we start talking about him, he just about bought the farm, and he's trying to still put the deed in at the courthouse. Didn't quite work for him. Ronald Williams sideways down the front straightaway and into turn number 1. Great piece of driving by him and Nathan Saxon, both to avoid wadding those cars up, but it just goes to show you how much of a handful these things are when you almost spin them on the straightaway.
Yeah, the power to weight ratio of these things is absolutely ridiculous, and it just proved right there with Ronald Williams. But a great job saving that thing, and a great job not sliding back up into Nathan Saxon. Those guys doing an awesome driving job, and Saxon able to take that 4th spot, and he's starting to close in on Bookberger now.
He is, but caution is out once again, and the 4th yellow flag of the night. Looks like, didn't see exactly where it happened. Looks like just a quick spin on the racetrack. And minimal contact, if any, is going to be what brings out the yellow flag once again. So 4th yellow of the night, Paul. And, the good thing about this, if you're a driver, it gives you a chance to kind of relax between runs and not have to hold your breath quite as long. But the bad thing is it also makes this race take a little bit longer. And we know what happens when race car drivers think.
Yeah, well, race car drivers can sometimes get a little bit bored every now and again, but looks like it was a 0-0 of Bradley Havard at a win around, bring out that caution. Tough break for him, but like you said, these races go on a little bit longer, and these cautions, there's good parts and bad parts. They're cooling off their tires, and every time we have a restart, they're on cold tires again, and times that's just not the right way to be.
No, it really isn't. You know from your experience, cold tires are no fun, and a lot of people wonder what's the difference. Well, explain the difference to us. And really, when you think about it, it's quite simple.
Well, you got to have heat in the tires to make a little bit more grip. Those cold tires just don't have hardly any grip, and they also don't have as much of a contact patch on the racetrack. And you warm the tires up, get a little bit more friction. They're able to spread out on the contact patch a little bit and get a little more grip to the asphalt.
And of course, when you say they stick a little bit better, they get a little bit more grip. Anybody that's taken a pencil eraser and felt it when it's cold and felt it after you've rubbed it on a piece of paper, it's the same effect. After you've used that eraser, it's built heat, it's softer, and in the case of these race tires, they're that much stickier. The oils and everything come out, and it helps it to grip the racetrack. And like you said, of course, the contact patch is bigger because the air has ballooned up to where that tire is not folding in on itself, and it's an ideal size to where all the maximum amount of rubber is in contact with the asphalt. And as we've already seen, every bit of rubber you can get on the asphalt with any race car, particularly these sprint cars, is advantageous.
Absolutely. You don't want to be in a situation where you don't have all your rubber on the racetrack, especially when you've got an 800 horsepower, 1,400 pound race car.
No, you're exactly right. Absolutely. And the pace car light's going to be going out this time by. We're going to try to get this thing started one more time. Fred Lampella, already 36 laps in the books. So when we take the green flag, we'll be just one lap shy of the halfway mark. Things going by very, very quickly here at New Smyrna Beach, Paul.
Absolutely they are. Fred Lampella and Vinny Sansone been the class of the field so far. They will be the top two coming to the green.
And on the top of the racetrack, as we've seen most of these cars on the restart, once again, we'll see them there this time. Lampella on the gas one more time, ahead of Vinny Sansone, Brandon Buchberger, Nathan Saxon, Ronald Williams, and as has been the case for most of the night, one of the best battles on the track for that third spot continues to be such. It's a threesome battling for that position, and behind them, give a call to Frank Ferry, Layla Wilson, and Brett Waldrop. That's a pretty good battle back there for the sixth spot as well.
Battles all over the half mile of New Smyrna Speedway, from front of the pack to the back of the pack. But right now, the best battle, there seems to be 5 cars fighting for that 6th spot, all the way from Frank Ferry to Layla Wilson, Brett Waldrop, Chris Overland, and Ryan Borges, all right there together.
Whoa! It was almost a 4-car battle. Brett Waldrop once again off turn 2 showed how much of a handful these cars are. He lost a spot to Chris Overland in the number 47 machine, so move Overland now up to position number 8. You see him wash up the racetrack in his pursuit of a top 5 finish here tonight. And it was Overland, remember, Paul, that drove his way from the tail of his heat to the 3rd spot, started 5th tonight, and really hasn't progressed up from that spot yet. Yes, the short runs probably haven't helped, but he really hasn't made a lot of noise other than just being where he's at right now.
He definitely did in the heat, which I think proved he can work his way up in a hurry, but so far in this feature, you're right, he seems to be kind of hit a plateau. He's kind of stagnant right there around 7th, 8th in that spot.
Of course, that line on that car, very, very different from what you see around him. Wilson running a very different line from the 47 of Overland. Overland taking a really wide exit, particularly off of turn number 4, and that tends to make these cars be a little snap happy on exit if you can get on that edge and just pass it a little bit. So Overland really taking a kind of a dangerous approach to turn number 4, but for the time being, it seems to be working for him.
Well, sometimes part of the secret is to move around and see what works, and I think maybe it might be what Overland's doing right now. He's kind of testing some different lines, testing some different grooves, and see what he can have, and see what's going to work for him, try to get around somebody.
And he's going to have to get around a couple of cars, including this one in front of him now, Ronald Williams, and the 97 of Frank Ferry Jr., as Ferry has inhaled just about the 07 of Ronald Williams. Williams was up there with Buchberger and Saxon, but they have left him high and dry, and now he is trying to fend off the 97 of Frank Ferry Jr. just to hold on to a spot in the top 5.
Yeah, Ferry's running a smart race right now. I think he's saving his stuff. He hadn't been out there trying to battle too hard with anybody, and here he is closing in on the top 5, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him up in a podium spot here before long.
Trying to do his best to work his way forward. Again, laps clicking off, 48 laps on the board this time by, so nearly 1/3 of the distance through this 75-lap feature. And this is the longest green flag run I think we have seen all night long, about 10 laps or so, as this battle for 3rd picking up Buchberger and Saxon going at it in turn 3.
Buchberger had opened up a little bit of a gap on Saxon a couple of laps ago, but Saxon has closed right back in on him. Of course, Nathan Saxon has already had some success this weekend, running several divisions. He's already won in the limited late models and in the tour mods earlier in the week.
Well, if you can handle a tour mod, you're probably going to have a good shot at handling a sprint car, although this is a little bit of a different beast. It certainly shows his versatility, and he has done a good job to hang on to this car thus far as we now complete lap number 51 this time by. But Saxon is up to 3rd, and he started, well, check that, never mind. Caution is out. We've got big trouble, and your leader was involved. Fred Lampella has encountered major issues here on the front straightaway. The number 3 machine came off of turn 4. He and Vinny Sansone got together, and Sansone has impacted the outside wall as well. Substantial damage to the number 80 machine, and it looks like what was a race for third may now become the race for the lead, as Lampella and Sansone have seen their nights turned on the roll cage, Paul.
What a turn of events. It looked like Lampella got a little bit loose coming off 4, overcorrected. Sansone happened to be there, wrong place, wrong time, and tough break for both those guys. Remember the championship hunt. If Sansone's cars hurt too bad, one of these other guys maybe will sneak up in there for the championship now.
And that's something is weighing on Vinny Sansone's mind. He has yet to come to pit road. You can see him on the racetrack trying to feel that race car out. He's trying to kind of swerve back and forth, see where the wheels are at, see how the car reacts, but it's not going to be enough. Vinny Sansone is coming to pit road. He will give up the top spot. Nathan Saxon, Brandon Buchberger, and Ronald Williams will now be the new top 3, and this race and this point championship for the week has been turned on its lid. We talked at the outset of the show about how Vinny Sansone had a 26-point advantage, but Paul, while that seems safe, that's why they run the race. Bad luck can rear its ugly head at any time, and Vinny Sansone has seen that happen here just moments ago.
Unbelievable turn of events in this car championship race, and Nathan Saxon, the benefactor of that, he just passed Brandon Buchberger for the 3rd spot, and now inherits the lead. And by my rough calculations, Sanstone's got to be able to come back out there and finish somewhere around 12th, 13th, or 14th to be able to secure this championship.
Now, what all is that assuming? Obviously, it's assuming certain people finish in certain places, but what are the other realistic scenarios we could be looking at?
Well, Nathan Saxon came into tonight 28 points behind Vinny Sansone. He's now the leader. 4 points behind Saxon is Brandon Buchberger. So these guys, really, they were racing for 3rd in this race, and now they may be racing for the championship.
It's hard to believe you take a pretty rudimentary race for a position that may or may not affect the championship second, but nobody races to finish second. They simply race to win and do the best they can, and now that race where these two cars were so equally matched, as you said, could be the battle for the championship. And right now, Vinny Sansone's night does not look like it's going to get any better. He's being shown 1 lap down, but still on pit road. There's a good chance that car may go a couple of laps down, and if that happens with 20 laps to go, his night is pretty much over, barring some major attrition in the final few circuits.
I'm speechless. I mean, you've got the guys that have been fastest in the sprint cars all week long, both of them out of this race at the same time, and it's a whole new ballgame.
Looks like Sansone is going to get back on the racetrack. Well, no, he's not. He just ran into the outside wall on the back straightaway, trying to get out of the pits and save a lap or two. And that's not going to work for him, but green flag is out, and we are racing once again. It is Saxon to the point with Buchberger hot on his fuel cell bar, now to the inside in turn number 3.
They must have heard us talking about this maybe be a battle for the championship, because they're side by side across the stripe. Buchberger on the inside working the 16 of Saxon. Saxon trying to hold his own up high. Good run off turn 2 down the back straightaway. They drag race into turn 3. The 20 of Buchberger on the inside, the 16 of Saxon. Race for the lead and potentially the championship. Off turn 4, Buchberger leads that lap, but they're still side by side. Meanwhile, check out who's creeping up in 3rd.
Ronald Williams wants a piece of the pie as well because, well, he brought his plate and fork and he's ready to do business and dine on the line that is given to the winner here tonight. Buchberger and Saxon, though, not opening a lane, and Williams is going to have to think long and hard about any sort of move he might make. Does he bonsai and make it 3 wide late? If these two cannot settle it amongst themselves, I think the answer to that question is going to be no. Buchberger now to the point. Saxon back to second. And you can put a blanket over the top 3 as they race off into turn 1.
Top 3 battling, great racing going on. 61 laps in the books. It'll be 62 complete this time by Brandon Buchberger. Has gained the lead over the 16 of Saxon. Top 3 nose to tail as ahead to turn number 1. Great racing up front. Still good racing, great racing towards the middle of the pack too, but I can't keep my eyes, I can't get my eyes off this first place battle.
This is the one that matters. This is the granddaddy of all the battles on the speedway, so I really don't blame you. Williams sideways down the front straightaway once again, trying to take that car to the absolute edge of control. And you see these drivers, they pitch these cars in the corner. They're sideways, they're nearly out of control, sliding up and down the racetrack, all in excess of 100 miles an hour at almost any given point on the racetrack. That is all that separates them between disaster and victory. Buchberger, a car length now over Saxon into turn number 3, this time by 2 fistfuls. 10 laps to go at New Smyrna for the Sprint Car Championship. This could be not only the race for the win, but for the overall championship.
It's worth noting, well, I'm going to note that in a minute, as Saxon got to the inside of Buchberger for a minute, lost a little bit of ground, but Buchberger didn't qualify well. Saxon got 3 bonus points in qualifying for being the 3rd fastest qualifier overall, so that gives him a 7-point advantage.
Caution is out, and that's going to rewrite this one. Chet Wheeler Jr. goes around the 01 machine in turn number 4. Looks like a pretty harmless spin by himself, hooked the apron, and that car went around and came back up nearly into traffic. Spinning to avoid was Eric Nordoff in the 36 Labatt's blue car, but he'll get his car righted as well. And now this sets up, oh boy, Paul, this sets up one heck of a restart. We'll be going back green with less than 5 laps to go, and a championship literally on the line for Buchberger, Saxon, and Williams. As it stands now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Saxon holds the edge by a mere, about 1 or 2 points?
Well, I'm not a math expert, but my rough calculation shows Saxon, as they sit on the racetrack, 3 points ahead of Buchberger. Now, with that, Saxon could actually fall to 3rd and win it by 1 point.
Well, we're going to come back and we're going to watch the final few laps. Don't go away. The barn-burning finish at New Smyrna in just a couple moments.
Plus other listeners where you could hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Flag in the air. Brandon Buchberger jumps out to a hefty advantage, and caution on the restart here on the front straightaway. That's going to seal the trophy for Brandon Buchberger, but the championship still remains in question. Assuming Buchberger can bring it back under caution to the flag, this race is his, Paul Boswell, but the big question is going to be that week-long title and the few bonus points it might come down to.
Yeah, like I said, it's not official. I'm not officially keeping this, but by my calculations, the 3 bonus points Nathan Saxon got for qualifying this evening is what's going to win him the championship. If not for that, we would have had a tied ball game right here at the end of this week-long championship for the sprint cars.
It was pretty doggone crazy, and what happened to cause that yellow? You look back, third place, Ronald Williams spun the tires, got out of shape. He and Chris Overland made contact. Overland spun, and that started a huge chain reaction, which took out about 4 of the top 10 runners. So really the entire running order is going to change before this is all said and done. We'll go over that here in just a little bit, but meanwhile the pace car works its way off of turn number 4 for the final time, and Brandon Buchberger will see the checkered and the yellow flag. Buchberger wins the sprint car finale here at New Smyrna as part of the online World Series of Stock Car Racing. Nathan Saxon will finish second. Leela Wilson will finish in the third spot. Ryan Borges and Joe Annunziata will finish out the top 5. Wow, what a race, Paul. It's going to be fun to hear the thoughts of Buchberger and company after this one.
Absolutely, and Buchberger drove a heck of a race there at the end. When he saw that battle for third became the battle for the win, he went out after it and got it. And Buchberger, hats off to him, he earned this one.
He certainly did, and he's going to do the well, that didn't work out very well for you now, did it? Never mind, I just broke the race car. Buchberger tried the inverse donuts, but they don't work very well in a car with about 12 inches of stagger geared to go the opposite direction. Buchberger to victory lane. We'll be back and talk with him in just a couple of moments. You're watching the inaugural online World Series of Stock Car Racing live on ETV.
Radio Network. Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks. HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Green Sally up, a green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the ground. Green Sally up, a green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the ground. Green Sally up, a green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the ground. Green Sally up.
Welcome back to New Smyrna Speedway and the inaugural online World Series of Stock Car Racing. The finale for the sprint cars just completing. And wow, what a race and what a finish that one was. Brandon Buchberger, 17 laps out in front of the field. Gets by Nathan Saxon in the late going to claim the victory. Leela Wilson finishes third. Ryan Borges and Joe Annunziata the top 5. James Stone, Daniel Moose, Frank Ferry Jr., even after that accident, finishes 8th. Corey Stalker and Eric Nordoff rounded out the top 10. Rest of the finishing order throughout the field: Kyle Young, 11th. Jeff Rogers, Colin Penn, Chris Overland, and Ronald Williams made up the top 15. Brett Waldrop, Chet Wheeler Jr., Bradley Hayward, Fred Lampella, and TJ Graves finished 20th. Final 4 cars out of the race: Vinny Sansone, Craig Weigel, and Timothy Kelly Jr., as well as Zach Brewer, the very first car out of the event. And Vinny Sansone, he was, we thought, going to be the winner, and then we thought Fred Lampella might be the winner, and they both were very, very stout, but the guy that ended up in victory lane, none other than the driver of the number 20 machine, Brandon Buchberger. In your wildest dreams, did you ever see yourself winning the sprint car feature at New Smyrna tonight?
No. Vinny and Fred were real quick tonight, man. They were stout. I mean, I had about a half straightaway in front of me when that wreck happened. I didn't even see what happened there, and then the whole track was bottled up after that. And right when that happened, I just got passed for 4th, I think, and on that restart, I got a good run off too, and I got by Nathan, and somehow I held on to it.
Did you have any idea that you could hold him off for the rest of the race? Because it looked like you two were fairly well matched, at least through the opening 2/3 of the race.
I really don't. I didn't know if I could do it or not because at the beginning I pulled away from him a little bit, and then on a longer run he would catch me, and they got me right at that long run. I just felt like I was a little bit better than him on a short run, I think, and that's how I got back by him on that restart. Is because I felt like I was just a little bit better than him on a short run.
Well, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. You ended up in victory lane. I know you got a lot of people that are proud to see you there. Who are they that make things happen for the 20 group?
Definitely my team, Last Row Motorsports. Vinny and Chris Overland and I were working on a setup before the race, and Chris found something that really clicked for all of us tonight, and Vinny was really quick. That sucks for him. And then we got to thank Double Clutch. They're on board this week for me during this whole week. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I got to congratulate Chris Overland on his Pro Series championship. He did a really good job this year.
Well, congratulations on a big victory here at New Smyrna. We look forward maybe to seeing you here in the SK Mod in a little bit. Best of luck there as well.
Yep, I plan on running that.
Brandon Buchberger, the winner here in the Sprint Car Finale, is part of the online World Series of Stock Car Racing at New Smyrna Beach, Florida, New Smyrna Speedway. But the guy he had to beat was Nathan Saxon, and Paul Boswell, you've caught up with him.
Nathan Saxon, what a turn of events, first and foremost. You're battling for third in the race with Brandon Buchberger. Seemingly championship out of sight. You know, Vinny Sansone and Fred Lampella way out front. But then everything changed. Tell us your thoughts when you saw that accident up ahead of you.
Well, I didn't really think too much of the championship. I'm not sure how it turned out yet. But I saw those two wreck, and I know I just got around Brandon, and I was thinking, heck, I'm leading a sprint car race. I'm not too pro in these cars, and it was a shock to see two guys of that caliber get together. I don't know what happened, but definitely turned my whole race around.
Well, you know, that's part of racing, and you happen to be in the right place at the right time to take advantage of it. Now, you know, official points aren't calculated yet, but by my uneducated math, I've got you 3 points ahead of Buchberger for the championship.
Well, if that math is correct, I'm thrilled. I didn't expect to even be in the running for this championship. I kind of entered the championship late and figured I'd give it a shot, and it turned out to turning out to be quite a successful run.
Yeah, like I said, well, you know, it's unofficial. They'll get the official results and points up this evening. But congratulations on an unofficial championship. Congratulations on a great finish here in the sprint car finale here tonight at New Smyrna Speedway.
Thank you.
Of course, we know that you don't just do it on your own. Tell us about some of the people that helped you get here tonight.
Well, I didn't really work with too many people for this, but I'll thank my Tour Mod team, Roadrunner Racing, and I haven't thanked them yet on any of the ETV broadcasts, but my A-Car team, Nexus Esports, for helping me out with everything else.
There you have it, finishing second and unofficially the first annual online World Series of Stock Car Racing Sprint Car Champion, Nathan Saxon.
And Paul, the guy that he had to beat to do it, well, he was the guy I think most people probably had their money on tonight, but Vinny Sansone, a very disappointing night for you. A car in a position to win a championship, possibly a race. What happened to put you out of this one?
Yeah, I guess it probably all goes back to the start of the race. I knew the kind of middle upper lane through 1 and 2s quicker. I went down in there. Fred was he got a pretty good start, stayed alongside of me, and I got a little loose and couldn't keep alongside of him, so that probably did it all. I know if I'd get out front, then I'd be controlling my destiny 100% there, but I was going to be pretty content there to ride in second. Started after all the yellows, catching them in lap traffic. Wasn't really going to push it too hard, but he did look like he was slipping up, and just coming off 4 there, looks like he got a little low, was trying to correct it, and just came across us.
At first, did you realize how bad the race car was? I mean, we saw you trying to make some laps, trying to feel it out, but was there some hope left that maybe you just bent some Nerf bars and maybe you could continue on, or was it pretty instant you knew that your hopes for this one were over?
Yeah, it was pretty instant. Just the way we hit kind of smashed me against the wall, so it was just about all four corners of the car. I knew got it pretty bad, and got in the pits, tried to have the crew repair it a little bit. Try not to lose too many spots, but it was already too late, and there's really just nothing else they could have done.
Well, the good news is you were fast at the right times. Should we expect to see you back to try to get this one, maybe the one that got away, next January?
Oh yeah, we'll definitely be back, and I'm sure everybody else will be too, and we'll be gunning for them, and they'll be gunning for us. It's not going to keep us down.
That's Vinny Sansone, the unfortunate victim of an incident late in the race between he and the at the time leader Fred Lampella, and the other half of that incident is standing by with Paul Boswell, and that would be Fred Lampella, the driver, the number 3. Paul?
Fred Lampella, a good week leading up to an unfortunate incident. Fred, what happened from inside your cockpit?
I guess first of all, I'll apologize to Vinny. I know he had a good run at the championship, and I feel like I just knocked him right out of it, so I apologize for that. I don't know, I got up in their lap traffic, and I got a lot lower than I like to run that corner, and I tried to get inside of the lap traffic, and I gave it a little too much throttle on exit, got loose, and then when I corrected it, it snapped over into the wall. And that was it for me and Vinny.
You had a fast race car. You were able to get past Vinny on the initial start of the race after winning your heat. Do you think that do you think you had a legitimate shot to hold on to this thing all the way through it had that not happened?
I think so. I think the car would have held up. The nut behind the wheel failed, but I got a good jump on Vinny on the start. I don't know if he spun it up on the start or got loose or what, but it kind of surprised me that I got around him on that start. And after that, I thought I had a pretty good chance. The race seemed to be going pretty good, and it always makes me nervous when I get up into traffic. But I just messed up on this one.
Now you won Monday night in the sprint car feature, and of course you had a very fast car here tonight. Who do you want to thank for helping you get up front?
Well, I thank sponsor Amsoil, all the guys that run within the sprint cars every week, and Vinny and PJ, they're always helping out everybody in the sprints, getting their setups and helping the new guys along. So I'll thank those, and I'll thank you guys for the broadcast tonight. Did a good job.
Well, there you have it. Fred Lampella, unfortunately, didn't have the result he wanted, but proved how fast he was here tonight, leading 51 of the 75 laps of tonight's race.
And that one has to hurt, Paul. I know he sat there, and you can hear the dejection in his voice, and you can hear the sincerity in his voice as well, knowing what happened, but he has nothing to hold his head about. It's racing. I mean, we're all on the edge of control whenever we're in one of these cars, real or simulated or otherwise. And it's part of the sport that you're on the ragged edge all the time, and things like that are going to happen when you're chasing greatness and chasing speed, because as we said much earlier, comfortable is not fast, and fast is not comfortable. And unfortunately for Fred Lampella, he was a little less than comfortable on the front straightaway.
Yeah, real unfortunate break, and you never want to be the guy that costs somebody else a race. I really feel bad for Fred. I've been in his shoes before, and as I think most of us have, and it's a tough break for him, but he'll pick up, he'll continue on, he'll continue to be fast and win races, and so will Vinny. Vinny's a very good sportsman about it. Of course, Vinny, like you mentioned, is always helping other drivers get faster, so that's a pretty cool deal about Vinny Sansone, and But I'm still flabbergasted. A great turn of, or not great, but a crazy turn of events, an awesome race. And if that's any indication of how the John Blewett Memorial Race is going to be coming up here in a few minutes, we're in for a great show.
Oh, we've got one stout field of SK Modifieds ready to take to the racetrack, and we expect at least 3 heats worth of those, if not 4 heats for all we know. It's going to be a full night, and there's going to be a lot of guys trying to race to stay in the field or get in the field, and a lot of guys racing for the chance not to go home, for that matter. That's how big of a race this is going to be for 76 laps. And Paul, while we wait for all that to take place, still waiting on official word on the championship, whether it's Nathan Dixon or whether it's Brandon Buchberger, or who it is, it's going to be up front of the point standings at the end of this week. But when it comes down to the bonus points and just a couple of markers, you got to make sure it's right. You don't want to come on here and tell the wrong guy he's the champion when in reality it's somebody else, and have to go back and tell him later we screwed up. So all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and it looks like things are certainly coming to pass with that.
Absolutely, and of course, it may take a while because, of course, the officials are definitely tied up with everything as they switch from sprint car mode to SK modified mode, and so it may be a little bit later this evening before things are official. But either way, a great show, a great race, and that's just the first one. We've got a whole nother feature, or sprint, or heats and features to go for the SK modifieds.
Well, we get everything ready to get the champions and top 5, for that matter, presented to the world. Our champion, one of the cool things about this World Series of Stock Car Racing, Paul, are the prizes you've got up for grabs. There's cash prizes, there's credit prizes, product prizes. One of the neat ones is, one of our T-shirt partners, they're making a championship T-shirt for all the champions from Printworks. And one of them is going to be of the champion who will say for sure here in just a little bit of his race car on a T-shirt he gets to ride and wear around the world.
When I heard that we had gotten that deal with the T-shirts, it made me want to give everything up completely and race it myself. That is an awesome prize, and I'd love to be able to have it myself. That's a cool deal, not just for bragging rights, but I mean it's a cool novelty thing too. And so. But unfortunately, I had too much in the back end of this whole thing, and I wasn't allowed to just jump in a car and drive it after we heard about that.
Certainly, yeah, I think I would agree with you. Of course, he gets a trophy, a cash prize. There's an event poster he'll get to hang up in his room. He gets the big T-shirt. He gets a couple of cool little decals and things to hang around with. And much as we had suspected, it came down towards the end of the race and towards the end of the points tallying as to how close it really was, Paul. But really, even if you finish second or third, there are some pretty good prizes for the top 5 spots, for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. But between cash prizes and trophies and T-shirts and everything, I mean, and there's even prizes for guys that finish outside the top 5. There's some random prizes and stuff that'll be drawn for, and some other contingency bonuses and things like that. So a lot of prizes up for grabs for this World Series, and it's really cool that we were able to put this whole thing together, and a lot of the hard work that Eddie and his guys that USTRA put into making this event a reality, and he mentioned it earlier in the pre-race how me and him were working on the same thing at the same time, not knowing it. I didn't know he was working on it, and he didn't know I was working on it, and all of a sudden we come together, and this thing blew up bigger than we could have ever expected.
Exactly, and it wouldn't happen without the fine support of people like Printworks, where if you need shirts, they do shirts from mild to wild to conservative to completely all out of the place. You never know what's going to happen. Specializing particularly in automotive and motorsports designs, you can make sure you check out their work on the You Win It, They Wear It shirts being awarded to the Online World Series of Stock Car Racing champions, and for that matter, some of the participants this week, as we just spoke about. They've got over 19 years of experience, and you really can't go wrong with the Printworks design. For more information, check them out online at printworks.com. That's printwerx.com. That's printworks.com. So without further ado, the first guy is going to be presented his prize and told about his prize. And Paul, I will leave you the honors to introduce to the world the first champion of 2014's World Series of Stock Car Racing.
Well, it's official now. We get word from the race control. Nathan Saxon is the inaugural champion of the sprint cars in the first annual online World Series of Stock Car Racing. Congratulations, Nathan.
Thanks, Paul. I'm thrilled, actually. This is quite surprising.
So, we talked to you a little while ago. It was kind of unexpected, like you said. You weren't really anticipating running as well as you did in the sprint cars, but then even in this race tonight, we're having the bad luck with Vinny up front and able to come out on top, right place, right time.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that, Vinny definitely had the better car in this race and last night as well, but a little bit of bad luck last night. I thought that would have definitely done me in, but stuff happens.
There you have it. He's our inaugural champion of the sprint cars, Nathan Saxon.
Of course, unofficially official champion of the sprint cars, Paul, and everything again still being double checked, and now they decided to go back and triple check it, but we'll get back to some of that in just a little bit, and really after all of our modified races and whatnot, we'll get to all of them because, we've got heat races on track, and we don't want to keep these guys away from the race cars, Paul.
That's right, yeah. We're getting ready to go back racing with some SK Modifieds.
Tim Ford, well, yeah, absolutely. I'm all about going racing with some SK Modifieds. There's some pretty good stuff getting ready to happen here. And these Modifieds, if you're not familiar with them, well, we'll brief you on them. They're really kind of not that new of a design, but basically it's an economy model of the Tour Mod, Paul. A little bit less power, a little bit different tire rule, smaller carburetor, smaller engine, that type of thing. But the chassis themselves, not much different, but it was designed as a way to be pretty much an economy type race car. We'll talk some more about it here in a little bit. Don't go away. We're going to come back to SK Modified Heat Races in just a couple moments.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80 metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks. HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com. plus other listeners where you could hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Welcome back as cars get ready to get on the racetrack for a heat race action for the SK Modifieds. We were talking a little bit before we went to break about the history of the SK Modified. And really, the SK Modified has been around for quite a while, or at least the concept of the SK Modified has been around for quite a while. When you really look back, it kind of started, Paul, back in about 1975 or so. The Arute family, who you might know from Jack Arute from ABC Sports and that entire family, from Stafford Speedway, they saw the future. We talk about now the cost of racing, and they understood it even back then. That the cost of modified racing was kind of starting to get out of hand. They tried some different ideas. They tried narrow tire rules. They tried hard tire rules. They tried a bunch of different things. And finally, they sat down. They came up with some rules for what now is considered and called the SK Modified. And it's basically just an entry-level modified race car. It's kind of an oxymoron, but it really is. And they had some trial and error with the SK, but it eventually, particularly in the Northeast, it has grown to be one of the most affordable and popular classes in short track racing in that entire region. They don't look a lot different from the tour type mods, but when it comes to the pocketbook, and for that matter, the cost of actually racing them, there's a huge difference. And really, a lot of drivers on iRacing have their own SK Modifieds or started in something very similar. Kevin Iannarelli comes to mind, one of the staff members at iRacing.com. He's been in the modified series for a while, started out with like a mini mod, like a 4-cylinder mod, and I believe he moved his way up to an SK mod. Hasn't quite tackled the tour type mod yet, but you know what? That's the cool part. You get to have a really neat race car without a whole lot of money.
Absolutely, these SK mods for people that are full fitter guys like me, you can equate that to a limited or pro late model versus a super late model, and with primarily the same type chassis and stuff. Some cheaper parts, but mostly engine and horsepower is where your big difference is between the SK mod and the tour mod. And that's that's the biggest noticeable difference as far as watching the competition on the racetrack.
It really is. And I'm almost a believer or a subscriber to the idea that the lower classes actually are probably it's a little bit better to go slower, if you will, in a race car, because you got a closer group of cars together, and these SK mods seem to do that with that lower amount of power with a car that, you know, still has a lot of grip. These guys can maneuver around and maybe find some grip, but they don't get quite as strung out, and like you said, the cost factor is not there. And the cool part about iRacing is, and they'll admit to you, they didn't change much because there was nothing to change between the Tour Type mod and the SK mod other than power. That really was about it as far as the difference between the two, and that's pretty cool when a guy can take the same race car and go between divisions from track to track or week to week or year to year without changing a whole lot.
That's absolutely right. I've always been an advocate that, and I think that's what's wrong a lot nowadays with NASCAR racing, is the cars are too fast. The cars are too aero dependent. You know, I think if you slow them down, you'll see better racing. Fast does not always equal exciting. necessarily.
Yeah, you're pretty much right. It's that, I guess the relationship we established earlier, fast and comfortable. Yeah, 200 miles an hour is not comfortable no matter what you're doing, but relatively speaking, fast isn't comfortable and comfortable isn't fast, and too often they've made some higher-end cars very comfortable. The Indy car drivers, when they started whining about the race cars, guess what? The racing got much, much better. So maybe some other series, be it whatever those series might be, we'll take a lesson from that and realize the drivers aren't who you need to make happy. It's the people in the grandstands paying the bills, and when you make the drivers happier, usually it makes those people a little bit less happy.
That's absolutely true. Without a crowd, there's nobody to watch the racers. There's not the money coming in through the gates and stuff. So, yeah, really and truly, I know the drivers sometimes don't like the changes to the cars and stuff, but you've really got to make it exciting for the fans, no matter what the drivers want.
You're exactly right. Of course, personally, I would think you put these cars on a little bit smaller tire to compensate for that lower amount of power, and it really wouldn't matter that much more. But and that's the combination you have to find. No matter what racing you're doing, whether you're doing dirt super late models, whether you're doing cup cars, whether you're drag racing, Indy cars, road racing, whatever, you need to make sure that the cars aren't locked to the racetrack, because anytime you can put power to the ground, it means cubic dollars, and in the situation that most teams are in now, most drivers, you can't necessarily afford that. And when you take grip away, it means you're at the edge of control, which means what? Usually you're going to end up with a better race. And hopefully we see that here tonight with some of these SK modifieds. Ron Haglund in the heat we're getting ready to cover, one of the faster drivers in the warm-up for it. Justin Brooks, TJ Graves, Nathan Saxon, Peter Talumas, all out here. Eric Hahn, Ty Spearman, Ryan Borges, Craig McDonald, Tiago Ezequiel out here. Joe Annunziata is out here as well. So 3 full heats of cars in these SK modifieds, meaning we should expect a pretty hefty amount of passing, because you're not guaranteed to be in the show, and that passing might come at the expense of the Chrome Horn.
Oh, absolutely. These guys are going to have to race their way into the show, the main event. Now, we've got more SK modifieds on hand tonight than we had sprint cars, whereas almost every sprint car made the feature. That's not going to be true tonight for the SK mods, so these guys are definitely going to be up on the wheel for these heat races, trying to race their way into the show.
One of the guys I talked to a little bit earlier, Scott Wiley, a driver out of New York, he drives a modified at Lake Erie Speedway, and he's done some races up around, I think, Holland Speedway and some places like that in that region of the country. But it's not a tour-type mod or an SK mod. It's almost like an IMCA-style mod, a little bit different type of race car, but nonetheless still a modified on pavement, narrow, hard tire with a limited amount of power, but enough to still kind of, because of that tire, break the rear wheels loose. And he said, man, I'm nervous about this deal. I'm on here a bunch, but I just had horrible luck lately, and I absolutely am scared to death I'm going to miss the show on this deal and be embarrassed. I mean, that is how close these fields are in all these heat races, and the pressure these guys put on themselves, even if it is just a virtual World Series of stock car racing or not.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a big deal to a lot of these guys, and some of them take it very seriously. Some of them don't so much, but a lot of these guys are taking this thing really seriously, and as they should. This is a serious deal. There's real prizes, real money on the line, real trophies, and they're acting as such.
So it looks like we're going to have 3 heat races, and we're going to have possibly even an LCQ coming in for this one, because of guys that just couldn't quite get sorted out with times and whatnot, and some technical difficulties rolling in. So just to add a little bit of fuel to the fire, all you need is that one more chance just to screw up and take yourself out of the race, right?
Yeah. That's absolutely right. I mean, the nerves at this point. You know that you're not in the show. Nobody's guaranteed in the show right now. Even the fastest qualifier, if he wrecks out in his heat, if he has trouble in an LCQ race, he's not in the show. Getting in the show is number 1 right now, and then 76 lap feature after that.
So wait a second. Hold on. Let me get this concept straight. You mean nobody is guaranteed? They have to actually perform to get their way into the show. Hold on. Hold on a second, Paul. My mind. Do you have any duct tape? Because my mind is about ready to explode, and I need to keep all the pieces together so I can find them.
That's my understanding. You're gonna have to race your way into this thing.
Kind of like every short track everywhere across America, each and every Saturday night. It's the way it should be. And, guys come out here, and I say that not necessarily from a fan's point of view, but actually a racer's point of view. And the fans appreciate some heat races, and they appreciate LCQs because they get to see more action for their dollar and for their time. But as a racer, I think heat races are definitely the way to go, because now, as a racer, be it virtual, be it physical or otherwise, you go to the racetrack and you say, I at least got to race. It might have only been a heat race or an LCQ, but I got to race. It's not, we ran around, did 100 laps of practice, I made 2 laps, and I sucked, and I went home. No, you actually get to race, no matter what happens. It's just a matter of how much you get to race.
That's right. Yeah, everybody's going to get a shot to hit the racetrack. Now, the question is, are they going to be able to race all night long and get on into the feature or not? Some of these guys won't. A lot of them won't. Only a certain number of guys are going to make the feature. Only a certain number of guys are going to make, TV time and get themselves up front. But even if you fail to make the feature, you still get laps. You're still going to get your heat race. You're still going to get a shot at an LCQ. And I think that's a real cool thing about a short track type format where you've got qualifying heats, LCQs, consies, features, and even if you're the slowest guy out there, you still get a chance to race. You still get a chance to go out there, turn some laps, and see what you can do.
We're going to come back with some late breaking news here at New Smyrna and get all of our lineups and things sorted out. But don't go away. The World Series of Stock Car Racing, the online edition, coming back in just a couple of moments.
plus other listeners where you could hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Welcome back to New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Heat racing action ready to take place here at the half-mile New Smyrna Speedway. And we hinted at a little bit of news before we went to break, and it is official. There's going to be 3 heat races. Top 6 going to go to the feature from each. And if you do the math, you say there's 6 spots left. Yep, you're exactly right. Because there's going to be a last chance hooligan race, no holds barred qualifier after the 3 heat races to get this field sorted out. And that is your last chance to make the show. So it looks like Paul Boswell has gone down to work with some of that. And Evan Pasoko has joined me up here in the booth as well for the time being. Evan, as we get ready to pull the trigger on lining these cars up on the pit road, this is interesting news.
Oh yeah, for sure, and that's going to throw a little bit of a twist into how these drivers want to look at this. I mean, sure, you want to get into the top 6 in this race, get your ticket and lock yourself in. You don't want to have to go to the LCQ. You mentioned that's going to be a no-holds-bar race. They're going to be going for it there, so you can make it a lot easier on yourself to get into the top 6 in tonight's race right here in this heat race, and you don't even have to worry about that LCQ.
Yeah, worrying about an LCQ is never a good thing, but some of the best will tell you that's where the best racing well, let me back up. Racing would be the wrong word. Best entertainment happens, and there's some really good racing in that process as well through the LCQ, but there are so many things that could happen, and that is, as the name implies, your very last chance. You don't have a chance to make it up, whereas here you'd like to just get it done and be relaxed and worry about the feature, but nonetheless, somebody is going to have to come through that LCQ, and it's going to be some of these drivers possibly, but 6 of these guys will advance before the checker or after the checkered flag in this particular heat race. Let's take you through the starting lineup for this top split heat race here tonight. On the front row, the 16, Nathan Saxon. To his outside is the 22 of TJ Graves.
Take a look at row number 2, the inside third starting position, the 7-11 machine of Eric Hahn. Outside him, the 11 in the 4th starting position, that's Ron Hagelin.
Justin Brooks in the 33, and Peter Talomas will make up row number 3.
Tom Bills and Craig McDonald going to make up P7 and 8.
Thiago Ezekiel will roll off in the 9th spot with the award for hardest name to pronounce in the grid tonight in the 9th spot. And Andrew Fayash III, sporting family number 157, he'll start outside row 5.
Ty Spearman in the 92 going to be starting back in position number 11, and the 24 of Ryan Borges starting 12th.
Joe Nunziata in his number 96 going to be shotgun on the field in this one. Going to have to try to race his way 7 spots in 25 laps. Doable? Yes. Easy? Absolutely not. And exciting? Oh, you betcha. SK modified action, a half a lap taking the green, Evan. What can we expect briefly before we take the flag?
Just got to keep an eye on that 6th transfer spot and know who's in and who's out. I think that's where you're going to see a lot of hard racing.
I think it's a pretty good assumption. Pace car is off. To nobody's surprise, Nathan Saxon out to the front of the field. Whoa, hello, right behind him. Hahn just about got in the back of TJ Graves. That was the battle for 3rd. The battle for 4th, though, is side by side. That's Ron Hagelin and Justin Brooks going at it. Hagelin loses a spot, and now he's in danger of losing a transfer spot, possibly, if he can fall back one more.
Yeah, Tulumas right behind him in the 2 machine, sitting in 6th right now. Had an opportunity to get to the inside, just could not quite get there in time. So they're going to single file out here up at the front of the field. A little bit of side by side, going back on in the pack. The 37 machine of Tim Bills had a little bit of company with the 24 of Ryan Borges on the outside lane. Borges is going to have to back off for the time being, so they're going to single file out and try to get themselves sorted out.
Of course, the more time they spend side by side, that's not a good thing. It means you're losing time and real estate to those at the front of the field. Up front right now, it still is Nathan Saxon with 3 laps in the books. TJ Graves runs a very patient second. Eric Hahn safely in the show right now in third. Here comes Justin Brooks, Ron Haglin, and Peter Tulumas. Now, Tulumas better be careful because right now, Evan, he's losing ground in the top 5. And Tim Bills is that's not Tim Bills. That's Craig McDonald immediately behind him, starting to close in. And that is for the transfer spot, the last spot to work your way into the feature.
He's got about 0.4 of a second over McDonald right now. McDonald's Zodai machine running in the 7th spot. He qualified in 8th, so McDonald has moved up 1 position, and he's trying to close in on that 2 machine at Tulumas for that final transfer spot to lock themselves into the main race here this evening. However, it looks like the 9 may be slowly falling back. It's 0.4 of a second still. Tulumas in the 2 machine just needs to do a solid job, hit his marks, and try to stay out in front of that 9. 6th position, not the most comfortable spot to be in when it comes to the transfer spots, but hey, as it stands right now, that number 2 machine's in.
And I was getting ready to say the number 9 of McDonald looked like the car's starting to pick up a push, and off of turn 4, he just absolutely pancaked the outside wall all the way down the length of it for the most part. So it looks like McDonald, the handling already going away on the number 9 machine. That or the driver maybe is trying to overdrive it a little bit and get more out of the car than what is in the vehicle as it is. Nonetheless, McDonald's still rolling, but that gap is getting bigger and bigger from him up to that transfer spot of 6th.
Yeah, for sure, it's now up to about 0.6 of a second a distance between the 9 and the 2 machines, and that's not something that you want to do, and it's very easy to do as a driver to keep lose track of that. You try to overdrive the machine, you can see that car in front of you, you know it's a transfer slot, you try to give it a little bit extra, and you overpush what you know your race car can do, and evidently you can mess yourself up with that and almost take yourself out of the competition as they continue to battle right now. Race leader Nathan Saxon holding a solid distance over TJ Graves. It's about 0.3 of a second. I know Mr. Excitement in the 22 machine. He wants to get a victory. He hasn't had the best luck to this point in the Online World Series of Stock Car Racing, so he's doing solid right now in 2nd place, but I don't think he's going to give on that lead. However, the 16 of Saxon looks strong at this point.
Saxon looks very good up front. In fact, he and Graves both, they've opened up about 0.75 of a second. Over 3rd place, Eric Hahn, and really nobody looking very racy in the top 5 or 6 spots. They know they're comfortably locked into the feature. However, a couple of laps ago, Justin Brooks in that 4th spot just about balked the farm off turn 2. I don't think I've seen wheels going that quickly back and forth in quite a long time. He had his hands full as he got on the gas a little hard out of turn number 2. The car got out from underneath of him, and about did it again, but this time a major push off turn 2. So Justin Brooks, albeit in the show right now, Evan, he might be fighting some handling issues on his 33. Let's see if he can hang on to it for the final 11 laps.
He's got to keep tabs on what's going on the racetrack right now. Sitting 4th, he has about a 0.9 of a second, so just about a second window back to the final transfer spot. That car in 6th position, so he has a lot of space to work with. He doesn't need to overwork that machine. It is number 33, but he sees that 7-11 on in front of him, and I'm sure he'd like to pick up another position in that sense, but again, you just got to keep an eye on them. When you're sitting in 4th, it doesn't matter. You're going to get into that main, so you just got to keep tabs on the overall picture at this point. Maybe a little bit of a battle going on for 5th. The 11 of Ron Haglin is holding off Peter Tulumas. Tulumas in the number 2 machine. Again, that final transfer spot at the moment in the 6th position. Kind of put up a little bit of a battle, got to within 3 car lengths, but hasn't had anything for the 11 since.
No, he really hasn't. I don't think he's in a big hurry because Craig McDonald is a comfortable distance off of his back bumper, so no sense for Tulumas to risk something and maybe take himself out of that transfer spot by doing something that he really doesn't need to do, and I think he realizes that as well. Same goes for this battle for 3rd right now. Eric Hahn, Justin Brooks. That battle has tightened up a little bit, but once again, Brooks, That car a little bit out of shape a few times. You don't, whoa, hello, there it was again out of turn number 2. I don't think he wants to take a risk and take a chance. I think he'll be very content to ride in fourth for as long as he possibly can. But if the opportunity presents itself, I think, Evan, he will try to go for that spot. I don't see him doing anything bonsai to try to get it.
If the opening's there, he might go for it. To take a look on board with the 33 machine of Justin Brooks. Again, sitting fourth. To take a look at the 7-11 right in front of him, that's Eric Hahn. Eric Hahn has had a very solid race, qualified third, or rather started in the third position, and he's running third right now, so doing exactly what he needs to do in order to get into the spot. You're taking a look from the view of the 33. You see he's about 2 car lengths off the back bumper of that 7-11 up in front of him, slowly closing in and going to make up a lot of time through the corner there. Now almost up to the bumper is Justin Brooks, so he knows that he's got a faster machine right now. I'm sure if this was the final race, he'd be all over him, but he knows he's going to be patient. Looks to the inside, is going to think about it going down into turn number 3. He does, so we're going to go side by side for third, and the 33 of Justin Brooks going to go around him. Caution, flag flies.
Caution is out, and that's probably going to be all she wrote for this one. Joe Annunziata and Ty Spearman get into it on the back straightaway. They were running back at the tail of the field, pretty much 12th and 13th. And it looked like Annunziata pushed up, got into Spearman, and sent him around. And that's a shame because we were starting to see a battle shape up for that transfer spot. Craig McDonald was closing in on Peter Kalumas. Don't know if he was going to have anything for him, but he was making one heck of an effort. The yellow flag is going to negate all of that, and this race will finish under the caution flag.
Yet unfortunate incident there between the 96 and the 92 back at the back of the pack. You mentioned there was the 92 of Spearman up top and Annunziata on the bottom, just pushed up. I mean, the slightest bit and nicked that left rear of the 92 car and sent that machine around down the back straightaway and into the inside wall. So caution going to come back out, or rather out for the first time this evening. So that is going to do it as far as green flag racing. So as long as these guys in the top 6 can keep their machines under power and avoid any mysterious electrical problems with their sim, they are good to go for that final race. Again, Peter Talumas in the 2 machine. You mentioned Craig McDonald in the 9 was putting up a little bit of a charge, trying to get back up to him and battle for that transfer spot. We were within 5 laps to go. So if the 9 wanted to get something done, he would have had to put up a hard effort for it, and he was closing in. So again, it might have been questionable if he was able to get it done, but I'm sure he would have put up an effort for it, and unfortunate not going to get the shot at that. So he's going to finish 1 position short and have to go into the LCQ. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, it's going to be Nathan Saxon starting from the number 1 position. Another yellow flag going to come by the start finish on and take the heat race win.
Checkers in the air for Nathan Saxon. So 2 races that he has competed in. Well, he's first and second so far tonight, with second in the sprint car feature, first in the heat race tonight. That puts him in really good position for the SK Modified feature coming up a little bit later here this evening. TJ Graves locks himself into the race. Same goes for Justin Brooks, Eric Hahn, Ron Haglin, and Peter Kalumas. They all have the comfort of their couches, their chairs, their race seats, whatever it is they choose to watch from for the hooligan race coming up in just a little bit. The last chance qualifier. Craig McDonald, Ryan Borges, Tim Bills, Andrew Fayash III, Tiago Ezekiel, Joe Annunziata, Ty Spearman. Their nights are not over yet, but they're 1 race away from being over, and that could be the LCQ, or they're 1 race away from extending them. One of the 2. We'll find out in just a few minutes. Nathan Saxon pulls the car into pit road. We'll talk to him and the rest of the heat race runners when we come back. You're watching the inaugural World Series of Online Stock Car Racing live on ETV from New Smyrna Beach Speedway. Don't go away.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com. TuneInRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Welcome back to New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and the SK Modified Heats have concluded. We'll talk to those winners here in just a couple of moments, and in fact, I think Evan Pasoko has caught up with the winner of the Fast Qualifier Heat Race number 1, and that would be none other than the guy we just talked to a few minutes ago, because he's our Sprint Car champion, Nathan Saxon. But Evan, this time, not only is he a champion, he's a Heat Race winner for the SK Series.
Definitely an all-round well driver is Nathan Saxon, and Nathan climbing out of the 16 machine, taking home the heat race victory here to kick off the modified portion of tonight's racing. How important was it getting started out there on P1 and just able to cruise?
Well, such a big difference from running the sprint car to a car. You really don't need to be that smart with your foot. Just smash the gas. So, getting used to it, and it was good to see my car lasted the whole way. I wasn't 100% sure how the car would hold up, but it seemed to hold up pretty good.
Out front, you had TJ Graves behind you the entire race, and as the laps continued to wear down, the number 22 started to get further and further behind you, so the 16 machine definitely looking solid to this point in this evening's competition. How was the car?
It was as good as I expected. Didn't really change the whole run, and I was hoping I had a good setup for the long run, and that's exactly how it played out there in the heat race.
So things going according to plan for the 16 machine. So you're going to get that victory in tonight's heat race, which means you don't need to worry about an LCQ to get into the main show later on this evening. Getting the victory, you're talking about how solid the car is. It acted just like you wanted it to. So things got to be feeling pretty confident in the 16 camp moving forward tonight.
Yeah, but as I saw in the Tour Mod race the other night, anything can happen.
And definitely, for sure, any sponsors or shout-outs you want to throw out with the 16 team?
Just my tour mod team again, Roadrunner Racing.
Definitely 10-4. That is Nathan Saxon driving the number 16 machine. He's going to victory lane in our heat race, and he'll look to do that again tonight in the main.
Yeah, I got a feeling he's going to be doing his best to try to work his way, or at least stay in the front, I guess I should say, over the course of the night. Trying to get a hold of the rest of our heat race winners. Of course, Saxon was our Sprint Car Series champion, and originally we thought it was by 3 points, and luckily we did some triple figuring, but it was officially by 1 single point that Nathan Saxon took home that trophy over second place Brandon Buchberger. And I know Brandon is a little disappointed because he won the sprint car feature, but Brandon, you lost the championship. It literally came down to bonus points tonight, and you lost the sprint car championship by 1 single point. How does that make you feel going into the SK portion of the night?
I don't know. I didn't qualify very well at all, and that cost me bonus points. And then had trouble in the race last night. So I mean, you can't just look at that 1 point. You know, there's a reason why I finished second. Nathan was really quick. I think he was a little bit better than me on long runs, and he was better than me every other night. I got caught up and stuff, and I didn't qualify very well, so I can't really just pin it on that single point there. It's just I didn't perform well enough to get the championship.
Of course, you kind of got handed a gift at the end of that race, too, where you were even put in position to have a shot at the championship. But nonetheless, good night for you. Anything you take from this particular week and maybe put towards either the other series that you're competing in this week or, for that matter, this event next year?
Not really. I guess the only thing I could think about is maybe get more of an emphasis on qualifying, because I didn't realize there was that many bonus points for qualifying in the top 5, and that, maybe that'll help more for next year. But I mean, I wouldn't change anything that I did going into it like I did this year. So I mean, that would probably be the only thing that I need to focus on is qualifying. I've really never been a great qualifier. DWC, Sprint Car, Silver Crown, everything I've ever ran on here, I've never really been a good qualifier. I've just always focused on the long run setup.
Well, it almost paid off for you, but maybe next year you worry about the qualifying a little bit. We'll find out. Nonetheless, a good run for you. Second points, certainly nothing to hold your head down about. Congratulations, Brandon, and I know there's a lot of people that got you to that point this week as well.
Yeah, got to thank my team, Last Row Motorsports, Vinny Sansone, and Chris Overland. We were busting out some stuff tonight, and we found something that worked about right before the race, and it worked out very well tonight for short runs for me, actually. It looked like Vinny was on rails with the thing until he got caught up in whatever he got caught up on. So, all in all, a good night for us. So,
that's Brandon Buchberger. He finishes second in the Sprint Car Championship this week as part of the inaugural World Series of Stock Car Racing. Evan Pasoko has caught up with the guy who ended up in third, and that would be Vinny Sansone. Evan?
That's right. We've caught up with Vinny Sansone, and Vinny coming home third and just a couple points short of getting that championship, but nonetheless a solid effort in this, the first annual online World Series of Stock Car Racing. It's got to be a pretty solid accomplishment getting that top 3 in the points.
Yeah, we, of course wish it was more, but, on a big double point night like that and getting knocked out of it, still being able to get thirds, pretty good. So, we'll just have to take it and move on.
And definitely for sure. And moving on, there's still a lot of competition to go before it's all said and done here, including tonight and some more nights of racing moving forward. I mean, how do you, what's your confidence level moving forward into some of these other machines, and what are you expecting out of your car?
Yeah, I'd say my confidence isn't too bad in a couple of the cars. I kind of realize I'm behind on a couple divisions like the super late model stuff, but we got the K&N race tomorrow. Kind kind of looking forward to that, see what we got. And kind of leading the Tour Mod race for the championship right now. So I guess that's my only goal, is to try and steal that back from Nathan.
Definitely, for sure. You talk about all the people that help you. What kind of shout-outs do you want to throw out there? Sponsors, friends, family, the mic's all yours.
Yeah, all the guys at LRM, keeping the racing fun. And of course, Eddie and Double Clutch guys, all the sponsors for this event, the USTRA and Sarah people. They're putting this whole week together for all of us to just be racing here, doing what we do, and broadcasting it out to you guys. Hopefully everybody's enjoying it.
Definitely 10-4. Well, Vinny, we know that you're fast in almost everything that you drive. So, again, you mentioned you're sitting atop those Tour Modified points. So, good luck moving forward in that series, and we'll be looking for you up front.
Thanks, guys.
That's Vinny Sansone at Evan Pasoko. Vinny, again, as we said, finishing third in the Sprint Car Championship after we thought he had it pretty much locked up, but that's why they run the race, as they say. The guy who ended up finishing fourth in points still gets a pretty cool prize package, although he was 11 points off of Vinny Sansone. Ryan Borges, take us through how your week was with the Sprint Car. Obviously not super stellar, but certainly nothing to be disappointed about either.
No, I'm definitely not disappointed about it at all. I'm actually pretty surprised and happy about it, since sprint cars are not my forte at all. And coming into this, I was just going to be happy making the fields and running mid-pack, but I was shocked to be able to luck into a couple top 5 finishes the last 2 nights. I finished last night, I finished second. Tonight, I finished fourth, and I only really had a mid-pack car, so just not getting in any incidents. The whole sprint car championship, I didn't get 1 incident point, so that definitely helped with that. And it was pretty good to finish fourth in sprint cars.
Certainly was. I know there's a lot of people that helped to get you there as well.
Definitely. I want to thank Eddie for what he's doing for me. I mean, it's a big deal what he's doing behind the scenes for me and a lot of other just racers that are trying to get into the sport, for either virtually or in real life. I just want to thank you guys for broadcasting, and that's it.
Well, Ryan, best of luck to you the rest of the week, and we look forward to seeing you on the racetrack.
Thank you.
That's Ryan Borges, finishes fourth in the sprint car points over the course of the 2014 inaugural season, or I should say inaugural week of the World Series of Online Stock Car Racing. Daniel Muse ended up finishing in the 5th spot in the sprint car points this week, and Evan Pasoko is hanging around with Daniel Muse, the driver of the Hooter Mobile. Evan?
And that's definitely for sure Daniel Muse, you mentioned, coming home with a 5th place finish, improving on the 6th place in the standings that he entered the final race with. If Daniel can get his mic hooked up here, we'll talk to him about his performance. Didn't quite get any wins, but had a top 5 in there and 3 top 10s overall, so came a couple points short, but ended up top 5 in the points. Daniel, you got your mic hooked up? Get one more shot. Daniel Muse here. It's Evan Pasoko in the ETV booth to get a copy. We're having some technical difficulties at the moment right now with Daniel Muse over the radio, but nonetheless, a solid finish. He's going to take a top 5. Paul? Or Tony, sorry.
No worries. I've been called worse things. However, Evan, we had 2 other SK Modified heat race winners as we move into the SK Modified portion of the program once again. We talked already to Nathan Saxon, who dominated the first heat, and the heat that we did televise. Guy that ended up winning one of the heats as well. Should be no surprise. He had a stellar run in the sprint car as well, and I think you caught up with him too. That's Ron Williams, Evan.
And definitely Ron Williams is going to get one of the wins in those heat races. One of those we were unable to cover, but going to take home the win in one of those other 2 that we were unable to copy. Ron Williams, it's Evan Pasoko in the ETV booth. You got a copy? We'll give it one more shot here. Ron Williams, you get your mic hooked up. It's Evan Pasoko. We're up here in the ETV booth. You got a copy, bud? Well, I'm getting no luck down here, Tony, but Ron Williams is one of our heat race winners this evening.
I'm gonna give you one more shot. I'm gonna send you over to talk to John Minotto. He won the 3rd heat race, and if John does not talk to you, Evan, I'm sorry, but we're just gonna have to kick you out because rule number 1 of this deal is people have to like you and people have to want to talk to you. So this is your one shot to make sure that you still have a job here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Canadian, so I don't think I can be disliked. I thought we're supposed to be real nice, but we'll give it another shot
if you
here.
bring beer, you're liked.
Exactly. Well, John, you got a copy. It's Evan Pasoko in the ETV booth. John Minotto, it's Evan Pasoko in the ETV broadcast booth. You got your mic hooked up, bud? I guess that's going to be 3 strikes and we're out, Tony.
Evan, you're fired. Evan, you're fired. That's all there is to it. Well, while we fire Evan Pasoko, we're going to toss him off the roof of the building here at New Smyrna. We'll try to clean up the blood and the spatter and everything else and make sure like he never existed. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with our SK Modified Last Chance Qualifier.
Plus other listeners where you could hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Welcome back to New Smyrna Speedway. Or not. Now we're back at New Smyrna Speedway. Somebody told me the button was hot when it wasn't, apparently. Sorry for voicing over your favorite commercial. I'm sure it was what was on the screen as we were coming back from break here to New Smyrna Speedway. Nonetheless, SK Modified Hooligan Race, also known as the Last Chance Qualifier, on the Speedway now. And if we thought we saw some insanity in the first 3 heat races, we have seen nothing yet, Evan. This is going to be, well, epic's probably not the right word. Ugly might be a more appropriate 4-letter word.
It's going to be a fun one, to say the least, and I think it's going to be more fun for us watching it as opposed to if you're one of the drivers down there on the racetrack, trying to get through all that.
I mean, you look at the starting lineup, you got, 19 or 20 cars ready to try to qualify for 6 spots. So 2/3 of this field, this is the last race of the week, they're going to run in this SK Modified. That's a pretty tall order to finish the top 6. And you got guys in this warm-up that are pretty quick, but by the same token, the entire field is only separated by about 2 to 3 tenths of a second. And that always means, especially in a race like this, there will be some chrome horns used.
For sure, and it's going to come down to the consistency in the race car. We talked to Nathan Saxon after his heat race with it. He says that the car had held up good over the course of those laps and held up good in the long run, so he didn't really drop off of any speed. That might be something that those cars behind him were lacking, which was able to get him up to, I think it was about a 7/10 of a second lead before the caution flew and evidently into the race under the yellow flag. So you want to be consistent, but again, you're going to have to be watching those guys behind you, and I don't think this is the right race to make friends in.
Well, if you come out of this race trying to make friends, you're doing it wrong. That's all there is to it. You're just simply doing it wrong. You don't come to the racetrack to bring friends or to make friends. You're supposed to bring them with you. That's how it works. Right now, the guys that are making friends with, well, maybe themselves, I'm not sure. Tim Bills, Jeff Conover, Scott Wiley, the driver out of New York, in the top 3 right now on the practice chart. Joe Annunziata, Scott Bell, Andrew Fayash III, but practice means nothing. We saw Annunziata. He was the back of the field in his heat race, so one fast lap does not an LCQ make. So some of these guys, once they grit up, might have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, for sure. I obviously didn't bring any friends with me this evening to the racetrack. No one wants to talk.
Well, that's obvious. We've seen that.
Exactly. No, but I mean, looking forward to this race. Again, 15 laps as opposed to the 25 that we saw in the heat races. So you got to look at that. 13 drivers going for 25 laps in that heat race. We have a lot more drivers than that in this. Again, you mentioned 19, and we're going to chop 10 laps off of that. So if you see a caution flag go, that's really going to take a huge chunk out of the green flag racing. That's going to be your opportunity to be able to move forward and advance your position. So at the same time as you want to be able to make it those 15 laps, there's got to be a sense of urgency, especially for those guys starting right behind that transfer spot. Say you hit the grid in 7th or 8th spot, that's going to be the spot where you're going to feel a lot of pressure in those opening laps, knowing that you got to get something done, because if a caution flag flies late in the going or mid-race, it's going to take a serious chunk out of the laps you get to run.
It really is, and that's where track position is going to be key. Your starting spot is very important because, yeah, you might not get a whole lot of chances to pass guys, and that means the guys in the back will be driving like wombats and banshees while the guys up front are just simply trying to save face. Take you through tonight's starting lineup for the SK Modified LCQ. On the pole, multi-time modified winner at Lake Erie Speedway, Scott Wiley, and to his outside, the number 99, that's Jeff Rogers.
Row 2, 3rd spot, the number 9 of Craig McDonald and Zach Brew in the 31 starting 4th.
George Tolsma is in the 5. Kyle Young is in the number 93 in row number 3.
How about Stephen Matthews in the 84 is going to start in 7th position, and the 24 of Ryan Borges starting 8th.
Sean Bagby back in the danger section, the middle of the storm, in 9th in the 40 car. Tim Bills, the 37, he'll start 10th.
The 01 of Chet Wheeler Jr. starting in the 11th position, and 12th, the 157 of Andrew Fayash III.
This is getting back to where these guys have got to go and got to go quickly. Brandon Wilkinson in the 86, he starts 13th. Jeff Conover is 14th in car number 6.
I go Ezekiel in the 17, starting 15th, and 16th, the 7 of Colin Penn.
Joe Nunziata way back in the opportunity section, he's 17th. James Moss rolls off 18th.
And rounding out the back of the field, the 92 of Ty Spearman, 19th, and the 20th spot, rather, the 8 of Scott Bell. They got to come all the way from the back.
And those guys have, it's a wing and a prayer for them. In reality, to make up 15 spots in 15 laps is going to be difficult. It's doable, just probably not very realistic of an expectation. Green flag is out. We've got trouble already on the front straightaway. We're piling them in. Cars sideways, stacked, smothered, and covered. Here at the start-finish line, Ty Spearman is one, Scott Bell is one, but we stay, well, no, we do not stay green, as Scott Bell's limping car has decided to make an issue, and we've got more cars going around on the back straightaway, it looked like, as well.
That'll happen coming to the restart, and there was a big checkup on the outside lane. The 93 of Kyle Young got hit in the back end by the 24 machine, and 24 got sideways and evidently went around in front of this pack, and that is Ryan Borges. He went around, caught another race machine. They were able to hang on, those guys that initially caused it, but just the catch-up or the checkup rather that was caused by all those guys behind them in that corner evidently just piled it in, and then they weren't able to get that thing sorted out by the time they hit the backstretch. So evidently we are going to get a yellow flag, and I do believe it's going to be for the 37 machine. Spun the wrong direction on the back straightaway. That is Tim Bills, so trouble for him after starting in the top 10.
Yeah, all kinds of insanity happening back there. And really, Joe Annunziata, give a call to him and to Colin Penn. Both of those drivers, fantastic pieces of driving to negotiate that chaos on the back straightaway. Annunziata had to take the grass, but he was able to get through with minimal damage. And Colin Penn, I think, might have got a couple of scuffs and a couple of scrapes, but he ends up in the 10th spot, which is good news for both of those drivers. They now have a very realistic shot of working their way into the top 6, Evan.
And with only 15 laps on the board for this LCQ, a caution early on in the going is going to take a big chunk out of the opportunity to get the green flag racing in that those guys around the 10th position need if they want to get up into the top 6 positions to transfer through. The car in the transfer spot right now, the final transfer spot, P6, the 84 of Stephen Matthews. He's going to be on the outside of the 3rd lane for the restart here, which puts the car in 7th position. The number 40 of Sean Bagby on his inside. So that 84 machine is going to want to try to get down and protect that spot because he could easily lose it here and we go back green.
Yeah, it's going to be very imperative to protect any track position you might possibly be able to hold on to. And as always, that transfer spot's where we're going to see the chaos happen. I mean, that's where the wreck of the initial start essentially originated, was right back there around the 8th to 10th spot. Guys that knew they had to go and had to go quickly. And when we came off turn 2, that's where the wreck initiated, was about the 8th to 10th spot. So guys know what's expected of them, and they know there's a lot of things at stake. And already we've got cars all over the place in the racetrack where the lineup is not correct. We've got cars a lap down, and it just added another lap to the caution period, and that means we're going to have one less lap for some of these drivers to try to get the job done.
Yeah, for sure. This time by the stripe, it's going to be, I do believe, 9 to go in this thing, and we got to go around one more time because the race officials threw a yellow to put one more lap, get everybody sorted out again. A small racetrack with very short pace laps, so they're going to actually have to throw it again because everybody needs to try to get sorted into their position. So we're going to have to delay it again, and this is taking off those precious green flag laps that those guys that are trying to battle up to the top 6 that we're hoping and really need at this point to be able to get that job done.
And as you would expect in any short track, Brandon Wilkinson is not happy. Brandon Wilkinson came out and he said, well, thanks. And this is pretty much just the way he said, thanks to whoever wrecked Kyle Young, which I assume is the car that got turned either out of turn 2 or in the front straight. It screwed everybody behind him, including Brandon Wilkinson. So, of course, Kyle Young spoke up to say, oh, yeah, that would have been Tim, which I assume is Tim Bills. And we keep throwing the caution flag. The lineup is just not right. I don't know what the deal is right now, but there's going to be a lot of drivers PO'd at that initial incident because of how many laps is taking off the board right now. This is not good if you're outside the top 6.
Definitely, for sure. And we saw a situation kind of similar to this with ETV back when we were broadcasting the NASCAR Racing Pro Series, where late on in the going, the officials had to clear up some positions, and a lot of time was lost. A lot of laps were wasted under the yellow flag, and a lot of drivers weren't happy about that. So you put them on a short track, and I'm sure it's going to make them a little bit more PO'd, you could say. That's the right word for it. We're doubled up. They have not delayed the caution for this lap quite yet, so the lights as it stands right now are off without the pace car and rider too.
6-lap shootout, and that means if the caution comes out, again, it effectively ends the race. That's how much green flag racing we've had, and that's how important it is, as we said, to have solid track position at the beginning of this swim. Scott Wiley, Craig McDonald going to lead him down. Pace car is off. Once again, Wiley on the accelerator. He'll dash into turn number 1. He'll beat McDonald to that first corner. In fact, that car loose for Wiley. Wiley up the racetrack into McDonald. They'll make contact, but Scott Wiley will hold on the spot, and we've got big trouble on the back straightaway, Evan.
The 0-1 of Chet Wheeler Jr. around and hard into the inside wall, and the yellow flag will fly in this race. is going to end under the yellow flag unless we get in a one-lap shootout. It's going to have to depend on the way the order goes, but the incident's going to happen for the 01 of Chet Wheeler Jr. Going into the corner, just kind of sailed it in there a little bit too hot. Ended up at the outside wall, and a side-by-side battle going on below him. And when he tried to come back down to get back into position on the racing surface, next thing he knows, the 52 car is on his inside, and they made contact, and the 01 hooked the 52 around, and the 01 made pretty hard contact with the inside wall. So that's going to be the cause of the caution. So all eyes are going to be on the top of that pace car up at the front of the field. If the officials have to delay this thing even one lap, it's going to ensure that this race will end under yellow, but they're cutting it close right now where that caution flag drops, so there's a slight possibility of a one-lap shootout depending on what these guys do.
I have a proposition. How about we just take anybody that's still running at the end of this one and put them in the feature? Because the way this is going, there's not going to be a lot of cars left rolling with all the pieces intact. It's just like the physical World Series of stock car racing, where by night number 3 or night number 4, you're taking the junk off the car that's completely bent and bolting on stuff from earlier in the week that's just not as bent as the stuff you took off. That's kind of what it's turning into. And the crazy part is we've got a 76-lap feature still to go with these guys.
And that's when we're going to see the real great racing here. This is really a shootout in the way that the cautions have flown. Obviously, 2 cautions and only a 15-lap race really hinders those people, again, that were behind 6th position, their ability to try to move forward. So this time by the stripe, we're going to need to see those lights go off of the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car, and they do appear to still be illuminated. So next time around, it is going to end under the yellow flag regardless of the situation, because working lap 14, if we get the one to go, they're going to be 1 lap too short. So the 47 machine of Scott Wiley just needs to keep it under power for 1.5 more circuits, and he will be the LCQ winner.
And the trash talking continues in the pit area. While Scott Wiley is going to roll to a victory in this LCQ, Wilkinson and Kyle Young have been teaming up on Tim Bills, and it's starting to get ugly. Wilkinson now telling Tim Bills he just wrecked the entire field. It's a corner, dude. You're supposed to turn. And then Kyle Young comes back to tell Tim Bills, I got sideways. I fixed it. I gathered it up, and you just plowed right over me. And of course, Tim Bills said, well, the 93 practically stopped as slow as he was going. So, needless to say, I think that trio will have a very interesting night over beer, coffee, and whatever other choice of beverage they choose to have later this evening. Off of turn number 4, albeit at a reduced speed, the driver out of New York, Scott Wiley, will claim the LCQ win for the SK Modifieds here tonight at New Smyrna. Craig McDonald will come home second and lock himself into the feature, as will Jeff Rogers, Zach Brewer, Stephen Matthews, and Sean Bagby. Going home tonight, Rich Tolsma, Joe Annunziata, Andrew Fayesh III, James Moss, Scott Bell, Ryan Borges, Jeff Conover, and a host of others, including Chet Wheeler Jr., Colin Penn, Tim Bills, Kyle Young, Brandon Wilkinson, Tigo Ezekiel, and Ty Spearman, all going to be loading it on the trailer to watch the John Blewett III Memorial 76 coming up here in just a couple of moments. So while the field gets sorted out, adjustments are made on the cars, and everybody gets ready to line them up, we're going to take a quick break here on ETV. You're watching the inaugural World Series of Online Stock Car Racing right here from New Smyrna Speedway. Don't go away. The John Blewett III Memorial 76, the big feature of the night, coming up next.
plus other listeners where you could hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Welcome back to New Smyrna Beach, Florida. All kinds of insanity happening here. All kinds of insanity. Let's just leave it at that. Apologize for a little bit of dead air. While we thought we were dead for a moment, we're not. We're still here. We have a pulse, albeit very light and very minimal. We do still have a pulse here in the ETV booth. We do promise you and assure you of that. But here's what's going to be happening. We have our 24 original starters as determined by the heat races. And Race Control has deemed that through some of the scoring issues and whatnot of the LCQ and a couple other things throughout the course of the night, that they will award 4 promoters options through this starting field. So instead of a 24-car starting field, we're going to have a 28-car starting field by virtue of the 4 promoters options. Now, we don't know who they're going to be yet. We know that the promoters have told us it's going to be probably via qualifying time. The top 4 fastest cars in qualifying that did not make the show will get a promoter's option into the John Blewett III Memorial 76, Evan. And if you're one of those 4 guys, this is a breath of fresh air for you.
Yeah, it's almost like a second birth. You get ready, you start loading everything up on the hauler, and then, you get the race official come down to you in the pits and say, hey, you got a shot at this thing, so stick around. So it can really kind of mess with the driver, but I'm sure they'll be more than happy to take that spot for sure. So bumping this sucker up to 28 positions, or 28 cars rather, going in this race, and 76 laps on the board, a lot more than the 2 that we've seen to this point. So it's going to be a great race for sure, and hopefully we can get a couple green laps in there, see a lot of side-by-side battling, and put on the show for everybody tuning in.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, to say the least. And yeah, I've been there before. It's never fun when you think you're out of the show. In fact, I'll tell you the most recent time it happened. Hickory Motor Speedway, I guess what was that? August, October, September, somewhere this past summer. Working with Carl Weber in the past South Series. And we were pretty sure we were in the show because we had a provisional. We didn't know that for sure, but we were pretty doggone sure. We were running second while our driver made a rookie mistake and spun out while running second in the LCQ. He was racing hard for the lead. He got over anxious on the gas, cranked it hard left, and luckily didn't hit anything. But nonetheless, he lost his track position. So he comes in, and we're kind of sitting here, and we see the tech guys go to everybody and tell them they're in, and we're just kind of waiting like, what are we doing, boys? Because, mind you, the tire truck's outside turn 1. We've got to get tires. We've got to get tires sized up. And, of course, I'm the tire guy who has to get the tires ready to roll in a matter of about 10 minutes. Not fun, because it does really screw with your rhythm. You're thankful to have the opportunity, but it really, at least for us, it kind of got us out of our sync and out of our frame of mind. But, sim racing is a little bit different. There's not quite as much you have to deal with because you've already got a setup. You already kind of know what you need, and you don't have to go buy tires and get them mounted up and sized up either.
Yeah, for sure. It's more of only a positive spectrum of things for sure. Not a lot of work involved in it. You just get to get that password and hop on in for that race. So I'm sure that those 4 guys, again, that can really put an emphasis on your overall performance of the entire night of racing, evidently paying off and get you into that. Some guys might not have thought that their qualifying times earlier on in the evening would come into effect. So, you just got to put it 100% and do what you can and everything that is within your possibilities and do your best in every single race that you do. And next thing you know, it comes up and surprise, your performance from earlier on in the evening could end up being your get out of jail card and end up getting into that main.
Okay, for a guy that nobody wants to talk to, you're talking about getting out of jail. I think I understand why nobody wants to talk to you now.
I don't get it. That was 3 people in a row. I think you guys must have schemed that and set them up. That's what I'm thinking.
Pretty sure. In fact, our friends at Old Spice would like to let you know they have great products available for male hygiene, and certainly they want to see Evan Pasoko as a possible product spokesperson for some of their products.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, that could be... Well, never mind. We won't get to that. Nonetheless, let's see if we can get a hold of Wiley here. I know Scott started on the pole of the LCQ, and Scott Wiley, I talked to you a little bit earlier this afternoon. You said, dude, I'm nervous about this. You got one last shot to work your way into the show via the LCQ, and the 2 laps of green you made, you did it.
I did. Was close, but I don't know. I don't know what happened with iRacing to begin with, why we weren't on there, but I'll take it.
Now, somebody told me you paid somebody off to get that spot. Is there any truth to that?
That is not true, but I will take it.
I don't know. I saw it all over the National Enquirer. You realize that, right?
I don't know what to tell you. I guess I'll plead the fifth on that.
There's a joke to this. Scott's a product of the Race 101 school. Yours truly helps to teach in North Carolina. One of the things we always work with are on-the-spot, crazy interviews. And, Scott, you did pretty well with this one. You didn't expect that one for sure. But that's the kind of crazy stuff we give you. Try to loosen you up a little bit. But back to your race car. How good is the race car for the race? Do you have any idea, or are you just kind of thankful to be on the show?
I mean, it's been pretty good in practice. I mean, I've been around the top 10 in all the practice sessions, and it seems to be pretty good in the longer run. It's just a little loose for the first lap or 2, but if we could stay out of trouble from what it looks like, I think we should be all right.
It seems like staying out of trouble has been one of the big things so far tonight for that matter, be it the sprint cars, the modifieds, or otherwise. When you start, deep in the field like you're going to be, how hard is it to dodge guys in front of you?
It's very hard. I mean, it's I guess in the real world racing, you usually know who you're racing against. I mean, I don't really know any of these guys or never raced with them, so you're kind of just have to react quickly and see what happens.
Well, Scott, before I let you go, there's a lot of people that make it happen for you. Who are they?
I would like to thank we'll thank my wife, I guess, for putting up with me playing this until midnight. And one of my only nights home from work. But I'd like to thank Double Clutch and everybody for putting on this whole event over the whole week. Graham Wiley Racing and Boston Deli, which is a very big sponsor of mine.
Well, best of luck to you, Scott. Look forward to seeing you in the feature.
Thank you, Tony.
That is Scott Wiley, the winner of the LCQ a little bit ago here at New Smyrna, Florida. And Evan, for a guy that just, well, I guess I shouldn't say for a guy that just won probably one of the craziest races of the night, he seems pretty calm, but let's face it, he didn't have to do a whole lot of racing.
It was a similar situation that we saw with Nathan Saxon. Again, that race a little bit different because the heat race that we covered had the green flag laps that would give those guys behind him an opportunity to get up to him. And that LCQ with the 2 cautions falling at only 15 laps up on the board, all he really needed to do was get out front on those restarts and just start to hit his marks, and he didn't really have to worry about anybody competing with him. I mean, the closest battle that he got was when the guys were side by side with him under the pace lap. So, again, a benefit that we've seen to both races that we've covered, the guy sits on the pole, goes home to victory lane just because those guys behind him have not gotten the opportunity really to get those green flag laps and feel out their machines and then try to make a charge at the front. So that's why I think when we get down to this main event coming up with 76 laps on the board, that's where we're going to start things. That's when we're going to start, rather, to see things get real interesting up at the front.
Think you're right. Want to let everybody know our LCQ post-race interview is brought to you by Sturgill Simpson. Sturgill Simpson's authenticity stands out like an island of hope in a sea of tacky. Pure and uncompromising, High Top Mountains classics evoke the sound of timeless country and brings back the lyrical depth that permeated the music Simpson absorbed during his Kentucky childhood. Bonafide mountain hillbilly soul, as pure as you're going to find anywhere. Visit SturgillSimpson.com to take a look at some of Sturgill Simpson's musical offerings. So certainly glad he came on board, and might have to do that for a guy that was born in the Tennessee half of a hospital in Bristol, Tennessee. It's not too far from where I was born. So I guess you can consider me a bona fide mountain hillbilly without a soul, which maybe means I could find a little bit of soul in some of his music, Evan.
Definitely 10-4. A lot of great partners coming on board to make this evening happen. Give another quick shout out to Double Clutch. Again, Double Clutch providing multi-platform cross-vertical fan engagement solutions for motorsport stakeholders. The Double Clutch Engage programs creates opportunities for interesting and profitable fan engagement. Teams and drivers enjoying increased influence while making it more rewarding to be a fan. Double Clutch helps you win on Monday. Again, for more information, please go to www.winonmonday.com. Double Clutch, and of course USTRA and Sarah, a big part of making this evening happen and getting everybody together to set up this great week of racing on the iRacing.com service. And racing not done after tonight. Again, we've been going for a couple nights now. We got a couple more nights continuing to go on. So still a lot of racing to go with this first annual online World Series of Stock Car Racing. We're going to go, I do believe, to a quick commercial break. So when we come back, we'll be getting ready.
Before we go to a break, I have to ask you, because we've looked at this Double Clutch stuff for a while. And to the average person listening to us, what does all this stuff mean? Multi-platform cross-vertical fan engagement. Translate that to the average fan.
Definitely, for sure. Again, if you guys want to check it out, go to winonmonday.com and you can sign up for that and, give them your information. And it's a really cool deal, and I try to explain it, but I think I'd only confuse people more.
How about this? Basically, Double Clutch does a lot to help bring together all your marketing efforts to where you reach your target consumer every time you possibly can, be that social media, be that at front of the racetrack, be that TV, internet, whatever. They do everything they can to get your customers involved with your brand and your business to where it basically becomes part of who they are. That's what Double Clutch can do for you, and you can check them out at winonmonday.com. How's that for you?
Too many big words.
Hey, we've got to give you a trial by fire. It's all good. We'll let the professionals do the work. We will take a break here from New Smyrna Speedway. I'll be back with the John Blewett III Memorial 76 in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Radio Network, join 5,000 plus other listeners where you could hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com. Plus other listeners where you could hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. TuneIn.com.
Welcome back to New Smyrna Speedway and New Smyrna Beach, Florida, the inaugural online World Series of Stock Car Racing. That's a mouthful to say the least, but one heck of an event here in the virtual realm on iRacing as well as the physical realm coming up in just a couple of weeks down I-95 in New Smyrna Beach. If you're anywhere in the area, anywhere in the region, make sure you stop by, check it out. It's going to be something you'll never forget, especially if you've never ever been there. Racing like you wouldn't believe. Enough racing to really, for some people, to make up an entire year. That's how much they cram into a week there at New Smyrna. Well, we have the promoters' options for tonight's John Blewett III Memorial 76. George Tolsma, Andrew Fayash III, Tim Bills, and looks like the machine of Tego Ezekiel also going to be in the field here tonight. They were the fastest 4 qualifiers in time trials not to make the show, Evan. And I guess if you're one of the promoters and that's how you choose your promoters' options, that's probably the fairest way to do it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, again, almost a second berth for those guys, putting down that lap, paying dividends here when it comes down to it, and they're going to get those final 4 spots in this main race. So, yeah, they're going to be starting probably near the back of the field, but you're going to be in this thing. You got 76 laps to work, so they're just going to be happy to be a part of it. Again, that's the whole enjoyment of being part of this whole deal, the first annual online World Series of Stock Car Racing. So just to make it into the main, I'm sure they're going to be a lot more happy than they would have been if they had to hit the trailer and go home.
Oh, anytime you can race. I don't care if you start last, behind last, first, whatever. Anytime you can race, especially when you didn't expect to, it's always a good night. How's the saying go? Oh, yeah. A bad day racing is still better than a good day working.
Definitely 10-4 to that.
So still waiting for everything to get solidified. So we have a racetrack to race on. Everybody can get on the speedway, get some final tune-ups and final adjustments made on their SK Modifieds. Talking about some of the things we got coming up here in the near future, it's really exciting to come to January and see race season being what it is. It almost seems like it comes out of nowhere. You do Thanksgiving, you do Christmas, and all of a sudden, over the course of about 2 weeks, there's more racing than you can shake a stick at between the Chili Bowl, the Rolex 24, Speed Weeks in Florida at East Bay, at Bubba Raceway Park at New Smyrna. It's like just absolute racing overload, Evan.
It's a great way to kick off a new year, and it's a great time of the year to be a race fan for sure when you come down. And you mentioned so many historic races and a lot of great racing, definitely in the month of January, going on through February and then on throughout the year. So, fortunately for us in racing, the little bit of an off season you could say that we do have does not last anywhere near how long some of it is in some of those other stick and ball sports. So I think we're sticking with the right deal here.
Now, don't be classifying racing as something it's not. It is a stick and ball sport. There's only one problem. It takes 2 of them to compete in this one.
Yeah, got to agree with that one.
Also want to let everybody know, watching on ETV, tonight's finale for the evening, the John Blewett Memorial 76, can also be heard on ETV Motorsports Radio. ETV Motorsports Radio is also the home of the BS and Back Talk Radio Show, where you can join the Cowboy, J.D. Webb, Jimmy North, Evan Pasoko, hey, I know that guy, Eddie Walsick, and the entire crew on Monday nights at 9 p.m. for about 2 hours of insanity, mayhem, and motorsports. A whole bunch of guest interviews. They do very well with the drama and topics that most radio personalities are scared to touch. J.D. and the boys ramp it up in the BS and Bullcrap segment. How does that any different from tonight? Oh, I'm sorry. And thoughts and opinions on some of the hot topics in the racing arena. It's fun. It's entertaining. There's no rules except keep breathing and don't kill anybody. No BS. BS and Back Talk, 9 p.m. Mondays on ETV Motorsports Radio. And again, tonight's John Blewett III Memorial 76 simulcast on ETV Motorsports Radio. So how ugly does it get, Evan? Do they throw you under the bus as bad as I have here tonight?
I'm gonna have to. When you talk about the radio show, that is a whole different animal, and we are being graced. We'll say J.D. Webb, the cowboy himself, El Jefe. It took a couple minutes, but he's made it up here to the broadcast booth.
It was a long climb up the stairs. I usually don't like coming up.
Didn't you?
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I heard my name, all right. But
hey, he answered me, so that's one friend.
There you go. Evan Pasoko, class of the field up here. I'm telling you, Tony Stevens, outstanding broadcaster tonight. I know Eddie and the boys are downstairs. They're working real hard and getting the next segment up and running here. But yeah, the BS and Backtalk radio show, it kind of started out as a kind of a recap of some broadcasting, that we were doing, and slowly I brought Eddie Walzik in. And got him hooked. And once he was hooked, he hadn't let go yet. And it kind of evolved from a long.
You might want to quantify that statement. You realize that, Eddie, right?
Yeah. Well, he hadn't been involved with us too terribly long. He was real familiar with the broadcasting here at ETV, and we started doing some radio shows. I brought Eddie in. I don't know what the deal was. It was an interview or some damn thing. But anyway, Eddie just never left. And since he's been aboard, it's just gotten better and better and better. He's brought a lot to the show. After the race segment, the short track stuff, the second hour. But it's the kind of show where you want to put the kids to bed, tell your wife to go do some sewing or something, put your headset on, kick back, grab a beer, and tune in, because it's the man cave of motorsports.
Say that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we have a lot of fun. And again, Mondays at 9 o'clock on ETV Motorsports Radio. Hey, check it out on the Facebook page, BS and Backtalk. You can also get us at rewind-radio.com. And let us know what you think. We got a call-in line. You can leave a message. We will play it unmolested on the air. We only have one rule, and that is we don't slander anybody. But beyond that, hey, it's a no-holds-barred, no-rules type of show. Anyway, Duty's calling downstairs. I'm trying to keep John awake down there. He's the one doing all the camera work for you here tonight on the broadcast, and there is no better. We call him Magic Fingers back at the office. So I'm going to bust on out of here, get on downstairs, and enjoy the rest of the night, guys. Good job.
We'll see. I'm kind of scared, though, Evan. He's talking about people doing their duty and the man cave, if you will, and now he's got a guy down there called Magic Fingers. How are you sure the guy's right in the head?
That's still up in the air, but if you guys tune in, then it'll all make sense. And it's I'd say it's a hell of a show, but it's different every week. And I mean, the conversations. We start with a plan when it comes down to the radio show. I mean, there are notes, and we try, but I mean, eventually after 30 minutes, it's just off the deep end. So, but it's definitely entertaining, and there's a lot of other great content also on the ETV Motorsports Radio Network, and with part of the ETV Entertainment Network. You got a whole bunch of great stuff throughout the week, so make sure you go to rewind-radio.net if you wanted to learn more about the BS and Backtalk radio show, or go to etvnextentertainment.com and click on the radio side of things and check out what we got to offer. Again, a lot of great racing stuff, all things four-wheeled, and I guess two-wheeled too, and fast on the radio show. So a lot of stuff to keep entertained throughout the week.
A lot of stuff. I mean, obviously you've got the talk there with BS and Backtalk, and that sounds like it's a steaming pile of dog duty that I definitely probably want to step in at some point, but that's a whole different story. Of course, you've got the HD Radio Network, which is also associated with ETV Motorsports Radio, and that's where you need some tunes. The HD Radio Network gives you a whole variety of stations to listen to. Everything from big 80s metal to HDR classics, HDR country, the whole deal. Take your pick from whatever you like. Rock your brains out and go have a great old time. They're featured on iTunes Radio, TuneIn Radio, and also listed on the Windows Media Guide. Listen today from hdradionetwork.com, or you can take it with you. Get the mobile app for all your smartphone app stores, be that the Windows Store, the Google Play Store, or the iTunes Store, whatever the case might happen to be. There you go. Might happen to be. Make sure you check out the HD Radio Network. And one of our friends here from ETV, he's got his own little deal he does every week or so. That would be Tim's Corner Motorsports. I know it's hard to believe there's something besides snowmobiles and snow and polar bears in Canada, but yes, they do know what race cars are, and Tim's Corner Motorsports is your one-stop shop for everything racing in Canada, except for maybe luge, street luge, but that's a whole different story. With weekly driver spotlights, photo galleries, all kinds of weekly news, Tim Terry and Tim's Corner, they've got it all. Make sure you check out their Unplugged show as well, where Tim gets real, gets down, and gets it on. Oh, he gets it on with live reports and interviews. I don't know who wrote that copy, but I'm kind of scared. Tim's Corner Motorsports, Canadian racing news at timscorner.ca. You guys have some really weird copywriters here at ETV, Evan.
It might be intentional or not. Another thing to know with Tim's Corner Motorsports, I talked to Tim earlier today. Go check him out on Facebook, facebook.com/Tim's Corner, and you'll get to the Tim's Corner Motorsports page. They are looking to get 1,500 likes, so 1,500 likes on the page, and are going to give away somewhere in the range of $25 iRacing credit in a random draw, and if you're new to the iRacing service, they'll throw in a 3-month subscription.
What was that address again? Hold on, I typed slow. Spell it out for me.
Facebook.com/Tim's Corner, and you'll get to the Tim's Corner Motorsports Facebook page. Now, they're at 1,471 likes, so they are 29 likes away from getting to 1,500, and that's when they're going to be giving away, again, $25 iRacing credit, and if you are new to the iRacing service, Tim said he'll throw in a 3-month subscription as well.
Well, that's pretty generous of him. That's why Tim Terry is the man. Well, whenever he wants to be. Field is getting assembled here at the New Smyrna Speedway. We have finally got everybody ready to roll, and the trailers are re-unloaded, non-loaded, set up, buttoned up, whatever you need them to be. It's about time, Evan Pasoko. It's probably about 45 minutes late, but we don't care. It's racing at New Smyrna here in just a couple of moments. I'm pumped up.
It's the whole atmosphere of the night. Everybody there in the grandstands, everybody tuning in online. You know, hopefully somebody's brought John and JD a beer, and hopefully the people watching at home have gotten themselves one to get ready for this sucker. As again, the car's on the track, they've let the fans back into the seats, so they've just really been taking it in for this last half hour or so. And now you hear those engines going as the cars go around in warm up. So we're only a couple minutes away from this thing. Again, it's going to be 76 laps on the board, and should be a hell of a race to close things out here tonight.
So cars are gridding down trackside. It's going to be a fun one. 76 laps to get the job done, and it's supposed to be 28 cars lining up here, and it looks like only 26 have decided to actually make the call. Interesting. Either way, we'll take whatever we can get. Take you through tonight's starting lineup for the John Blewett III Memorial 76. On the pole in this one, car number 16, no surprise, Nathan Saxon. To his outside is TJ Graves. Starting in the third spot, the 33, Justin Brooks, and to his outside is the 11 of Ron Haglund. Peter Talumas and David Lamb will make up row number 3, the 2 and the 26 respectively. John Menudo, one of the heat race winners, he'll start 7th. Corey Stockert, the 29, rolls off 8th. Ricky Brinkman begins the evening in 9th. And Brandon Buchberger, winner already tonight in the sprint car, he will start 10th. Frank Ferry Jr. in the number 97, he will roll off 11th. Ronald Williams will commence his racing from the 12th spot. Eric Eisenbeck, 13th. Timothy Finnegan in the 77, 14th. And Craig Weagle in the 09 will be starting in the 15th spot, Evan.
Yeah, 16th position, going to belong to the 00 Bradley Hevard. Behind him, Forrest Gregg, the 19 machine, starting 17th. 18th position, the 47 Scott Wiley. Craig McDonald in the 9, going to be starting 19th. And 20th position, belonging to the 31 Zach Brewer.
Final 6 starters slated to take the green flag as we get the 1 to go signal. Stephen Matthews in the 84, Sean Bagby in the 40, final transferee from the LCQ. George Tolsman in the 5, Tim Bills in the 37, Diego Ezekiel in the 17, and Andrew Fayash the 3rd in the number 157. 26 SK Modifieds lined up, ready to roll for 76 laps in memory of one of the greatest modified racers of all time, John Blewett III. Green flag is out, and we're racing off into turn number 1. Saxon on the bottom trying to get the advantage, but TJ Graves up top. Hill goes ahead by half a car length now as they work into turn number 3. It's Graves to the point briefly as they work off turn number 4.
Coming off the corner, 22 is going to get a brush through the wall. He's going to lose that run that he had on the top lane, so it's going to be up in front of this pack, the 22 of Graves, sliding back. Now, he was side by side with race leader Saxon at the initial moment, but now it's all the 16 machine of Saxon, and we're side by side behind him, troubled. Justin Brooks around.
33 of Justin Brooks goes around all by his lonesome here on the front straightaway, and miraculously he keeps it out of the wall. It's with significant contact, and nobody runs into him, and he does not come sliding back up across the racetrack. That very easily could have been one of the bigger wrecks we have seen all week, running in third spot, and well, piece of driving by Justin Brooks just to keep it in one piece for that matter.
And he was sawing at that wheel there because that thing was pointed head on towards that inside wall, and he was able to spit it in the little bit of grass that he had to use to his advantage, and ended up pointed the wrong direction. But despite how much grouped up everybody was back there in the pack, everybody able to get around with ease on the top lane, and he just spins that thing back around and starts to go and roll. So tough break for him, not what he wanted to see. Obviously with a fast machine, the 33 started in third, so that's one of the most ideal positions in this field to take the green flag from. So going all the way back, currently being scored in 24th, that's going to hurt a lot, but at least he's still on the track.
Yeah, word is from the Justin Brooks team, electrical issues, things freezing on that 33 car. Of course, if you knew sim racing, what's freezing? Well, it would be his computer. So some sort of something going on there with that 33 car. And much like a mechanical engine, you can overheat your computer, which is your proverbial engine in your sim racing car. So you got to make sure you take good care of that. That could be an issue, or maybe some other issue cropping up on the Justin Brooks machine. We'll have to see if, in fact, it continues, if it can get repaired, and for that matter, if he can drive his way through the field. The good news is he's got another 70 laps to get the job done. So if you're going to spin, lap 1 is a pretty good time to do it.
If you got to choose one at all, then giving yourself all those laps to get back up there, it's going to make it easier. But nonetheless, he is back outside of the top 20, and there is a lot of fast guys. Again, the competition in this race here tonight, you got to take a look at the names in here. It is stacked. So moving back to 23rd with guys that are arguably just as fast as guys inside the top 10, it's not going to be an easy task by any means for the 33 of Brooks to try to make his way back towards the front of the field. But he's just going to have to deal with this and try to get what he can out of that 33. Again, a lot of races to go under the yellow flag. Currently working lap 7 to 76 at the New Smyrna Speedway. So, again, you mentioned if you're going to spin, do it on lap 1. Not going to make it any difference. He's going to be back now in 24th. The end of the lead lap, getting an EOL penalty by race officials for those electrical issues in his sim. So, a long way back to the front it is going to be for Justin Brooks.
It will be, but the good news for him, he's got the time, like we talked about. I mean, yeah, it kind of sucks to give up a top 5 starting spot, but hey, you got a race car, it's in one piece, and we've already in the first opening lap or two seen a couple of guys really shoot forward. Brandon Buchberger has made up a couple of spots. Scott Wiley made up 5 spots from the initial start of where his grid position was, so he's moved forward. So you can pass cars here. There's no doubt about that. It's just a matter of whether you get caught up in all the shenanigans that happen between now and the end of the race, like we saw in the LCQ and so on through some of the heat races. Pace car gets ready to make that left-hand turn. He'll do so, and Skemper, safety of pit road, and on the loud pedal one more time. Nathan Saxon, he will lead him into turn number 1 over TJ Graves. Peter Kalumas right there on the number 2 machine, and Ron Hagland riding 4th. But Hagland not content for 4th. He wants 3rd underneath Kalumas in turn number 4.
Going to get it done. He's going to slide up out of the corner. Now the 114 machine is going to try to get in below him. That's John Bonotto. Can't get it done in turn number 1. So get a single file out between those guys. Side by side battle and contact. The 14 machine of Eric Eisenbeck having some trouble. He's able to hang on to it. He got into it with the 07 machine of Ronald Williams just in front of him, but he's going to be able to hang on. He's sitting back there in 10th, and more side by side behind these guys as the 97 machine on the top lane of Frank Ferry Jr. is going to lose 2 spots out of 2.
Yeah, Frank Ferry Jr. is going the wrong direction. Just got passed by Scott Wiley, just got passed by the McDonald machine, and not what Frank Ferry Jr. wanted. He started in the 11th spot. I think he made up some spots early as well, but it looks like now everybody going back by the number 97 machine of Frank Ferry Jr. So he's finally able to get himself a spot in line to ride with no pressure from around anybody near him, and now he can settle in and try to establish some sort of rhythm. But I will say definitely give a call to Scott Wiley. Started 18th, and in less than 15 laps has already moved up to 11th. So the winner of the LCQ, maybe in those 2 laps learned something. At least he seems to have so far, moving his way forward.
The one car moving backwards is the I-10 machine of Forrest Gray. He's dropped back from 17th and now to 21st on that last lap as he got trapped on the high lane and really has not brought it down to try to force the issue. One car sideways below him, that's the 40. Sean Bagby around on the bottom. No yellow out yet. He's got to back it out and get it back rolling, and there's no caution yet. He's back rolling on the bottom lane as the leaders go around him on the top. So we are going to stay under the green flag, but tough break for the 40 machine of Bagby is going to go down one lap after trouble out of 2.
Yeah, not uncommon to see a car go sideways out of turn 2. Very easy to hook the apron there or just get on the gas a little too hard. Appears that's what happened to him. And now caution is out. We've got trouble over in turns 1 and 2, it appears. Don't see the incident, but I saw a little bit of smoke, and apparently not. So I'm not sure if that's left over from the Bagby incident or exactly what brought out the yellow flag. But nonetheless, we're under caution for the second time here this evening on lap number 17.
The caution flag going to fly, so we're going to slow him down for the second time this evening. Caution flag out for an incident on the track. Not quite sure what car caused that quite yet, so we're going to need to take a couple looks here and see if we can find out the cause of the caution, but no difference is we're going to group them all back up. So the pace car is out in front of this field, and so we're going to group back up again. Second caution early on in the going in this race, so not what some of those guys back in the pack were looking for, but you touched on Scott Wiley in the 47, who's been making a valiant effort to move forward. He's in 13th right now, so he's still got some time to keep advancing his position in this race, so nothing's to say that he can't get that thing done, so keep an eye on him.
And it's kind of catching the cautions as he needs to. Apparently, maybe he or somebody else threw something out on the racetrack. Hard to really say, but it appears that it's absolutely a debris caution. Apparently, too many drunk fans throwing their beer cans on the speedway. And while this is not Talladega, they still get very passionate here in Florida.
Yeah, for sure. I think that might have been John and JD. That might be their signal to the interns to go grab another one.
So why are you still up here with me?
Again. You got to go down from the booth. You got to walk over. You got to get them.
Interns, why are you still here with me?
Look, you got to get them back to the infield. You got to get to the hauler and then come back. And
kids and excuses.
If I try to go get it, the guy might not even talk to me. So how am I supposed to get him for him? You know what I'm saying?
You have a point there. You know
exactly.
What?
So there, I'm going with that one.
I need you to go to the Advanced Auto Parts or the AutoZone or the something. I need you to find me some blinker fluid, please, because I need some for my car.
I don't know if we can get that happen. I'll call my people.
You call your people, and you go have a meeting with your people, and your people can call my people, and we'll do lunch sometime.
All right.
While that's happening, nothing much has changed up front. Nathan Saxon, TJ Graves, Loomis, Haglin, and Menudo, the top 5. Give you the rundown of the top 10 or 15 spots or so here as we complete lap number 20. Ricky Brinkman currently being shown 6th, David Lamb, Brandon Buchberger, Ronald Williams, Eric Eisenbeck, the top 10 at the moment.
We had a good battle going on, I guess you could say, up front. I mean, TJ Graves in the 22, again, running second to Nathan Saxon right now, as they did in their heat race over the 22 machine of Graves. Was able to kind of stick with Saxon, about half a car length off his bumper throughout that entire run, so 22 looks pretty even with that 16 doubled up, getting ready for the green.
This green flag brought to you by Printworks. You need shirts? We do shirts. Check them out at printworks.com. And it's about to be the works in turn number 1. Saxon again scoots out to the point in big trouble turn number 2.
They're going to pile them in there. Forrest Gregg is involved in it. One car on its lid, and the yellow back out after heavy contact. The 77 machine is going to get a hard lick, and that's Timothy Finnegan in the corner. And as we get that replay queued up, it was actually trouble up in front of him. Looks like the 47 machine lost the handle on it, and that was Scott Wiley, who we were talking about, making good progress. Sparks shooting out of the bottom of that machine there, going into 1 and 2, just spun out on the top lane, and some of those guys caught up in it, and that was a 77 machine, just went for a ride, got airborne, went right over Wiley's car.
Yeah, he just pretty much got scooped up and over Scott Wiley's machine. And I don't know if there was something wrong with the Wiley car or not, but like you said, that car was trailing Sparks getting into really all down the front straightaway into turn number 1, and I wonder maybe if that car unloaded or had something break on it to where he was, forced him to lose the handle. He had no choice because he was on the outside in the 12th spot on the restart, but looks like now his night's pretty much going to be done as 4 or 5 cars catch a piece of it. Tough break for those guys, and it looks like there'll be major repairs on those cars. But if you're somebody that started further back in the field and had an issue earlier in the race, guess what? This is the perfect time for you to come in, or to take advantage, I should say, of some of these incidents like a Justin Brooks, who's already back up to 14th after restarting 24th or so after the first caution of the night. So he's taking full advantage of every opportunity, it seems, to make his way forward.
So Nathan Saxon sitting P1 in the 16 machine, having a little bit of driver conversations going on. His sim is only running 21 frames per second at the moment. Now, if you race on iRace and you know that if you're getting frames like that, it hurts to try to drive like that. You're not getting the fluid motion. The wheel's going to be a little bit choppy. So just something to keep an eye on with that 16 up front. Not getting the smoothest race right now with his PC.
Well, what's even worse for him is if he gets past, that frame rate's only going to drop even further. So Nathan Saxon has every incentive on earth to basically stay in front of this field, because the further he drops back in the field, the worse that situation is going to get. It's not an arrow push, but it might as well be, because it's only going to be bad and bad and bad when he gets behind more and more cars. So big story developing on the Nathan Saxon machine, and I don't know if I tried that for a while. I really honestly tried that for a while with this sim. Didn't work, and about 6 months later I said screw it, invested in a new computer $2,000 later, and much happier, and glad I did.
Definitely, for sure. I mean, I got to get my stuff going. I got 40 frames per second, but that's with nothing on this thing. We're doubled up. Nathan Saxon, TJ Graves going to be making up the front row. Going into turn number 3. We're set to get go back green flag racing here on lap number 28.
Ready to go back green. Scott Wiley just pulled off in the infield in turn number 2. So it looks like his day might in fact be done. Green handkerchief in the air one more time, and this time TJ Graves on the outside gets one heck of a start over Nate Saxton. And Graves, big trouble again on the back straightaway. One car on the outside wall, and that is Justin Brooks making contact with the outside wall, bringing out the caution one more time, and he went driver's side first. Looked like he got hooked, and Evan, that's never good to get hooked on the right rear into the outside wall, driver's side first.
No, definitely. Justin Brooks, another one of those drivers talking about his FPS. He says he was running 13, though not very good. The incident's caused by, it looks like, contact with the 157 machine of Andrew Fayash on the inside, and Fayash might have pushed up a bit. 33 might have come down a little bit. Mutual contact at a turn number 2, and 33 got hit and had a little bit of a wiggle, evidently went around and got into the outside wall and had a little bit of company with the 40 machine after that, so said and done. So trouble for the 33, going to put us into our third caution of the evening. We're going to slow them down and group them all back up.
So while we get all that sorted out, we're going to take a quick break here on ETV. You're watching the John Blewett III Memorial 76 right here at New Smyrna Speedway in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. We'll be right back here in just a moment.
Radio Network. Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks. HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Hey, JD here with ETV Live, and let me tell you something. If it's too big for the pickup truck and you need to move it, there's only one trucking company you need to call, and don't bother with the Yellow Pages, cowboy. I'll give you that number in a minute. Manufactured goods, automotive, technical equipment, furniture, even if you need a reefer, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated is the only choice, cowboy. With locations in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, Rancho Cucamonga, California, if you need to move it, store it, and keep it cold, you need to call Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated. Long haul, short haul, or just across town, Gary Mercer has the best trained and qualified drivers to get your load from point A to point B with professionalism and on time. So remember, Hoss, if it don't fit in a pickup truck, you're going to need a real truck cowboy. Sponsors of ETV Live's Friday Night Showdown, Gary Mercer Trucking Incorporated, 1-800-668-2980.
Welcome back to New Smyrna. Green's out for the first time tonight. We've got a new leader, Evan. TJ Graves on the restart, motored around Nathan Saxton. And Graves now starting to check out, or at least attempt to. He's pulled out about 3-4 car lengths over Saxton. And Saxton now having to deal with Ron Haglund, who's riding in that third spot in the red number 11.
Yeah, TJ Graves in the 22 machine. He's been hanging with Saxon all the way up until this point, and Mr. Excitement and getting it done there on that restart, and now he's up to P1, and he's looking for a lot of redemption. Hasn't had the greatest online series of stock car racing that he was looking for, so sitting P run right now has got to feel good for the 22 machine. You talk about Saxon having to hold off the 11. That's Rob Hagelin behind him. The 11 about a car length or two off the back bumper to the 16 of Saxon. So Nathan Saxon holding tough right now in second, but the 11 machine trying to close in for P2.
Look at that gap. Like you said, trying to close in, but the gap seems to have stabilized for the most part. Nothing major happening. And for the first time tonight, I think most of the field now single file throughout the entire running order. Absolutely, I think everybody now realizes we need to just get to halfway, which we now are past halfway. 38 laps in the books, 38 to go. Almost misspoke. 38 down, 38 to go in the 76-lap feature. And now it's time to really start planning out the rest of your race, because you know you've got a little bit of time, but not a great deal, before you really have to start making things happen.
Somebody that's making up some time, Nathan Saxon, P2 of the 16 machine, is starting to close in on race leader TJ Graves, breaking down that lead for about 0.4 of a second when that pass was completed by the 22 machine. This time, by the stripe scoring gun update, it's going to be 0.2 of a second. Saxon was within a car length that last time around the racetrack, and he is closing in on the 22 of Graves, and the 11 machine of Ron Hagelin is closing in on Graves as well, not necessarily on Saxon, but the 11 machine hanging out in the wings there in P3, just kind of seeing what these guys are going to do for P1 as Graves tries to get their momentum back at a 22 machine and start to knock off a couple fast laps here. But the 16 of Saxon is a big target in that rear view mirror, and I'm sure that Saxon is going to want to battle back for P1, seeing as he got a fast machine as well.
It's going to be a heck of a battle if they can get side by side. You know Graves doesn't want to give up the lead. You know Saxon wants the lead. He's been there once already, and apparently that computer doesn't like not being in the lead from the frame issue he's had. But that also might make it very difficult for him to get by Nate Saxton, because it is not fluid motion he's seeing.
Oh, 21.
Oh, big trouble. Big trouble front straightaway. Brandon Bootberger has gone around, and that will bring out the caution once again.
Just caught that out of the corner of my eye, and it looks like it's going to be a self-spin for the number 21 machine of Brandon Bushberger, spinning out of the corner into the inside wall, and tough break for the 21. He was running inside of the top 10 at that point in the race, so self-spin's going to break out the caution here again at the New Smyrna Speedway. I do believe that is our fourth caution of the evening to this point, but Tony, you look at the lap count at 76 laps. We're already on lap 45. You managed to catch the halfway point right on the nail at 38. So we are now on the downhill side of things as a fake out for pit road. Saxon was thinking about it, but he's going to stay out on the racetrack. So he was looking to see what Graves would do. So no pit stops out of the guys at the top 5.
Yeah, really nobody of any significance on pit road. A few guys towards the back of the lead lap decide to come down for service. Might as well. You really don't have a whole lot to lose. Take 4 brand new tires, tank of fuel, and let her eat, see what you can get out of it. I don't blame them. You don't have to pay the tire bill here in iRacing, so go ahead and go for it. But I really didn't see tire strategy coming into play in this race. A short enough race, I think, Evan, that assuming your car is handling okay, you can probably go the distance on tires, and you can most definitely do it on fuel.
It's going to be a risk versus reward. You got to take a look at the guys around you. Again, if they decide that they want to go down the pit lane, why not? But I mean, there's no real need to do it, and if it comes down to it, you gotta stay out. So TJ Graves, obviously being in the position that he wants, he's fine sitting P1 right now. Now the 16 of Saxon, yes, he did lose their lead position on that last restart, but he caught back up to Graves and was in about a car length of him before the yellow flag came back out. So if I'm TJ Graves, you want to make sure you can clear that 16 of Saxon and get out front and just run your own race and try to get in front of that 16, because I can guarantee you Nathan Saxon, obviously with the fast machine, winning his heat race from the pole position, starting tonight's race, this main event, from the pole position, that 16 is going to be one of the contenders for that checkered flag when it's all said and done.
I think you might be right. Of course, some of these drivers competing tonight in the VRC MK2 virtual racing seats. Their simulation cockpits designed by a championship race car driver, Bob Earl. Of course, who better than an actual physical race car driver to design a sim cockpit after all? He knows what it means to be comfortable in the cockpit. A fully adjustable seat, all kinds of cool little features. Check them all out at bobearlracing.com. Things like additional monitor stands, the frames, a fully adjustable shifter mount, which is sold separately. Same with the monitor mount, but it's high quality, it's affordable. They're only like $349, so go ahead, check them out. bobearlracing.com. I have a feeling it'll make a difference in your comfort and your performance if you're a sim racer. And just make sure the wife or the girlfriend knows, so that way they don't yell and scream at you when the truck shows up with it, because that might be a problem.
Yeah, for sure. We are doubled up, and we're looking to go back green flag racing here in turns number 1 and 2. So the front row is flip-flops as TJ Graves on the number 1 spot. The green flag is out, and he is off the 16 of Nathan Saxon. Going to pull in line about a half a car length off of him into the corner as the top 5 single out through 1 and 2.
Top 4 single file. The battle is for 5th behind him right now. Peter Taluma, well, he's got 4th, and that battle's closing in on him. John Menudo slides into 5th, and Ricky Brinkman now rides in the 6th spot. Brinkman working the high side of the racetrack. A lane off the bottom, he'll cut down off turn 2. Look to the inside of Menudo, nothing there. They'll be single file back into turn number 3.
Continuing to battle bumper to bumper throughout the pack. Everybody's single filed on the lead lap at this point, but by definitely no means safe from each other for sure at this point in the race. The battle for the lead is separated by about 2 car lengths, same as it was before the yellow flew. We're bumper to bumper, 4P for the 2 of Peter Talumas has company with the 114. That's jumping out on the inside. Tried to take a look through 1 and 2, now coming out of 2. Can't get it done, and down the back straightaway. It's a half a car length separating those 2 drivers. The 114 looking strong. He just needs to set up that 2, and here he goes to the inside at a 4, trying to get that nose in there. Does he hold the spot going into turn number 1? He's going to get there and side by side.
Taluma slipped barely in turn number 1. I think it was a necessity to allow the 114 to get a lane underneath of him. So Menudo now will have the preferred line off turn number 4. He'll claim the 4th spot. Taluma's going to slide back to 5th, and that will be all he'll lose for the time being. But don't look now. Brinkman and Lamb all on his back bumper, knocking on the door. They want a piece of the pie. For that matter, that whole battle, Andrew Fayash III, Corey Stockert, Craig McDonald, Tim Bills, that's what, 5, 6, 7 cars, all the fracas for that 6th spot.
Single filing out it is for now, but the 18 machine up in front of those guys. Ricky Brakeman is going to get around him, and side by side was Fix, and Fayash was looking to the top there onto 26 of David Lamb, but Lamb's going to be able to hang on and protect his position at this point. Another position swap going on back on the lead lap. The 14 machine of Eric Eisenbeck going to sneak in line. What a move in front of the 9 machine of Craig McDonald. McDonald looks for the crossover in 3, and the 14 shuts the door.
Eisenbeck just about crossed it up into the outside crossover gate. That would not have ended well. He's being shown right now in the 10th spot, so Eisenbeck, good recovery after some incidents earlier, but we're getting down to crunch time now, Evan. Coming across the stripe, 58 laps now go in the books. 18 laps to go in this one. 76 laps can go by very, very quickly when you're clocking them off. Whoa, hello up front. TJ Graves, big slip off turn 2. It opens the door for Nate Saxton. Saxton will peek his nose to the bottom of the speedway, and Graves up on the outside wall. He'll take out the 16 of Saxton as he bounces back, and now major problems as Saxton slides back in front of the field. Other cars are involved. The 26 of David Lamb is in it, and a number of others are in it as well. But it all happened when when TJ Graves slid up in turn number 3. Actually started in turn 2, slid up, then slid up in turns 3 and 4, hit the turn 4 wall, bicycled it, came back down, and took out Nate Saxton in the process. Saxton then slid back up the racetrack, and 4 or 5 other cars caught a piece of the action in the process. But this is the big one. Much like the sprint car race earlier tonight, the leaders get together in an incident where the lead car has the error, and now it is a completely different race for the trophy.
Yeah, the 22 TJ Graves knew that Saxon was coming hot in his mirror, and these guys are accustomed to racing each other. We've seen them together here on ETV with the USTRA stuff back in the later portion of 2013, so they know each other's talent, and the 22 just got a little bit too high, and those right side tires climbed up on that wall. Saxon had no idea, so he didn't get a chance to move down and try to avoid that. Got hooked, and they plugged the racetrack. A couple machines were able to get through that, but Saxon again and went back up in front of the pack on the front straightaway and collected 3-4 of the cars. The 157, the 86, the 18 got a piece of it as well. The 14 squeaking through, the 8 machine barely getting by that as well. So it's going to be the big one here at New Smyrna. It's going to come late in the feature race, and it's also going to take out the 2 fastest cars on the track.
Well, we knew there was going to be action. We knew there was going to be some drama. We knew there were going to be a lot of good battles for position. But I don't think any of us expected essentially a repeat of the sprint car feature where at about the same point of the race, the leaders took each other out. Certainly not on the radar, but if this is setting a precedent for the rest of the week, I'm pretty sure I want to be running third with about 20 laps to go.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, you mentioned it right before the incident happened that it's time for these guys to go. We're getting down to crunch time, inside 20 to go. So you know that they're going to be going for it. They're not going to be letting up, because I can guarantee you TJ Graves know that if he got out of the gas, got on the brakes there, first place and probably second place would be on by, but he'd end up in third. So he knew that he had to try to hang on to it, and he just nicked that outside wall and was unable to hang on to it. And evidently, he's going to end up right now 3 laps down, and he's sitting in the garage. Nathan Saxon has taken his machine out of the speedway. He is done at this point. It's TJ Graves' machine. He has just left as well. So both of those guys so strong. We watched them both race each other hard, P1 and 2 in their heat race. They were going at it 1 and 2 in this feature race, and now they're both going to go home empty-handed.
David Lamb also taken out in that accident. Very, very, livid at Nate Saxon and how he felt. Of course, you know how race car drivers are. The other guy's always at fault. But how he felt Saxon could have controlled his car a little bit better in that situation and not taken him and so many other drivers out of contention. But, you know, that's racing. Things happen. And it looks like we're probably going to have about a 9-lap shootout to settle this one. So let's recap the running order for you after all this insanity has kind of sorted itself out. Ron Hagelin has inherited the top spot with John Menudo. He'll be starting to his outside. Peter Tulumas in the 2 will restart third. Corey Stockert and Tim Bills will make up the rest of the top 5. Bradley Hayward, after starting deep in the field, is 6th. Ronald Williams 7th, Andrew Fiash the 3rd, 8th, Craig McDonald 9th, and Frank Ferry Jr. is 10th. Steve Matthews, the 84, is the final car on the lead lap. He's being scored 11th. Everybody else 1 or more laps down include Boothberger, Eisenbeck, Ezekiel Brinkman, and it looks like Lamb on down, all out of the race. So 15 cars left on the speedway. Green flag is out. Hagelin gets a behemoth of a start. He's out by about 8 car lengths over now a new second-place driver, Peter Tulumas. John Menudo just got caught sleeping in New Smyrna.
Some of the drivers were possibly requesting the race officials to delay the caution because they might not have been sorted out, so caught some of them off guard, but that's going to benefit the 11 machine of Ron Hagelin. You mentioned he's sitting P1 after qualifying into 4th position, up to the number 1 spot. He's got the 2 machine behind him. That's Peter Talumas, somebody that we've mentioned a lot this evening, doing a real good job of the 2 machine, but he's about 3/4 of a second off race leader at this point.
And look back in 4th as we continue to watch this battle up front. Tim Bills, the 37, a last-minute promoter's option to get into the show, got in on the virtue of that option, which was based off of qualifying time. Here he is now with a very legitimate, a very real shot to win this race. From 20-something to 4th, what a drive by Tim Bills, even if he doesn't win this race, Evan.
Yeah, qualified, or rather started this race 24th, and he's up to 4th. So that is a 20-position gain now as we are well inside the last 10 laps. Peter Talumas in the 2 machine trying to close in on Hagelin. Last time by Hagelin running a 17.43. Talumas a 17.48, so lost a little bit of time, but he's made up almost 1/10 of a second these last few laps. Scoring an update. Going to go from 0.31 seconds to 0.29. So Peter Talumas closing in. Lap traffic in front of our race leader. They're going to navigate it. Now here comes the 2. He's half a car length off into 3.
That's just what Peter Talumas needed. It held up Ron Hagelin just enough to give Talumas a shot across the stripe. 72 laps complete. 4 laps remain here at New Smyrna. Talumas absolutely hounding the back bumper of Hagelin. That time off of 2, Hagelin got the run down the straightaway into 3. The gap is a car length. Those two continue the battle, but look now. Corey Stockert has joined the party with 3 laps to go. Stockert wants a shot at the trophy.
The 2 machine of Talumas is just not getting the drive off the corner that he needs, and it looks like he might be holding up the 29 of Stockert. Stockert looking desperately for a way around. Talumas going to really throw it into the corner. He's going to wash up. Now the 29 with a run, he's going to be on the back bumper, so the battle for the lead is now really a battle for second as the 2 of Talumas just can't quite get there to Hagelin in the closing laps.
Into turn 3. Ron Hagelin will come off the corner. He will see the white flag. Final trip around the New Smyrna Speedway. The gap officially 0.3 of a second. In reality, about 3 car lengths. Hagelin off turn number 2. In the gas, he'll stretch the lead out. It appears he'll have no contest for the top spot through turns 3 and 4. And Ron Hagelin will win the John Blewett III Memorial 76 at New Smyrna, part of the online World Series of Stock Car Racing. Peter Talumas will come home second. Stockert finishes 3rd. Tim Bills from 24th to 4th. And Ronald Williams will round out the top 5. My, oh my, what a barn burner for that lead in the final few laps. And Peter Talumas, I think, might have used his stuff up just a little too early.
Yeah, just so close. And again, how about Hagelin in that 11 machine as he stops on the front straightaway for getting a huge victory here to close out this evening's racing events at the New Smyrna Speedway. He qualified, or rather started this race 4th, and then 11 machine had been up there all night long. And you want to call him a sleeper because really all eyes were on those guys at the top 2 that were exchanging that number 1 spot all night long. But the 11 did exactly what it needed to do. He just bought his time, kept the tires underneath him. When it came down to it, he had the strongest car. The 2 machine of Peter Talumas was putting up an effort for it, but he just could not make the pass on the 11. Showing the strength of that 11 machine was Rob Hagelin, and that's why he is your winner.
So Hagelin gives donuts for everybody here on the front straightaway at New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Give me a Coke with that one too, my friend. It looks like you might have a few freebies coming to you after the win here in the World Series of Online Stock Car Racing. Don't go away. We're going to talk to the top finishers here live on ETV. Hagelin victorious. We'll be right back.
where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV live sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.
Welcome back to the inaugural World Series of Short Track Racing, the online version here on ETV. The Sprint Car Championship decided tonight, the SK Modified race tonight, the John Blewett III Memorial 76. Ron Haglin takes home the win, followed by Peter Talumas, Corey Stockert, Tim Bills, Ronna Williams, John Menudo, Andrew Fayash III, Craig McDonald, Bradley Havard, and the 10th spot went to Stephen Matthews. And quickly, Evan, wow, what a show those last few laps.
It kind of sums up the night entirely, and that is curveballs thrown into this. We saw the big one almost similar to the sprint car race earlier on in the evening and changes it up at the end, and next thing you know, Ron Hagelin is in victory lane. He sneaks through it all and did exactly what he needed to do, ran his own race, and evidently is going to buy his ticket to victory lane.
Bought himself a ticket to victory lane. It might have been a 5-ticket ride there, but he narrowly avoided that one. Ron Hagelin, wow, what a surprise to see you in the winner's circle here at New Smyrna. How in the world did you get here?
I basically got here from a setup from Ty Spearman. That thing was fast.
Fast race car never hurts. It always is one of the prerequisites usually to do well in a race. But had a lot of chaos happen in front of you there in the late stages. Did you anticipate it? Could you kind of see it coming, or was it one of those deals you just had to point and shoot and hope you made the right decision?
I kind of figured it was coming. I was just hoping that I could get clear of it. And of course I did, and I nailed that wall hard.
So not only did you win the race with a great setup, but you are telling us you had a fairly damaged race car those last few laps. Just how far off and how bad was that car?
The wheel was at about 10 to 11 o'clock, and it would not turn left in 3 and 4 to save my life.
Well, that explains a whole lot as to how Peter Talumas got back to your rear bumper, but Ron, that makes it that much more remarkable. You were able to wheel that car, as ill-handling as it was, to victory lane. They say the guy that wins is the guy that wants it more than anybody else. I think tonight you've proven that.
Oh yeah, I wanted it bad tonight. I was going to get it. I just didn't want it to be that way.
Well, hey, you take them however you can get them. They don't ask how, they ask how many, and you get the first one here tonight. Ron, who all makes it possible for you in the 11 group?
Pardon?
I asked who all makes it possible for you in the 11 group?
Ty Spearman, David Lamb. They helped me a lot on the setups in here.
Always good to have good teammates. Well, Ron, congratulations once again, and we look forward to seeing you next year to defend the John Blewett III Memorial 76 title.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great race.
That's Ron Hagelin, the winner here tonight in the SK Modified John Blewett III Memorial 76. Evan Pasoko has caught up with Peter Talumas, the driver, who chased Ron Hagelin to the finish line. Evan?
And it was a chase that came down to the last lap, and we're down here on the pit lane with the driver of the 2 machine, who finishes second. That's Peter Talumas. And Peter, first and foremost, congratulations on getting a top 2 victory, but walk us through those closing laps. You got to the back bumper of the 11 machine as he worked his way around some lap traffic, but just could not close the deal.
Yeah, I saw that he was dragging something. He had some contact from the earlier wreck between TJ and Nate. So I knew he was hurting. I tracked him down, but I wasn't going to put the bumper to him. I wanted to keep it a clean race. And, Smyrna, it was pretty tight track, so it was one lane. I wasn't going to get a run on the outside, that's for sure. So we'll take second. We're happy with that.
They talk about the second place finish. You started this race in the 5th position, getting in through the heat races and whatnot. How has your night been in total for this evening's races with the Online World Series of Stock Car Racing?
Oh, it's exceeded expectations. I figured, if I come out of here with a top 5, that'd be great. Through the qualifiers and the heat runs, the car was a little tight, so I did a gear change to free it up. I'm glad I did that. So it helped me through the center of the corner. I noticed in one of the early heat races it was a little tight in the center, so the gear change helped tremendously. So I've got a Frankenstein Robin South prepared car and served well tonight.
Definitely. You talked about some of the people that make it happen for you. Any other sponsors or friends and family, anybody else that you want to thank? The mic's all yours, bud.
Yeah, thanks. Frankenstein Racing, all the member teammates. There's a lot of people that got their hands in this set. I'd like to thank all the guys that I run with on the series, giving us clean racing. And, big, congrats to my wife for letting me hang out down here in Man Cave and do some racing with you guys. So that's most of all, and not be pissed off about it.
Definitely will 10-4. Hey, congratulations on a solid top 2 finish. Not an easy feat. You look at the field and a lot of fast guys in here, so congratulations on that. We look forward to seeing more from you as the week goes on.
Yeah, appreciate it. Looking forward to the rest of the tour mount races. Thank you.
It's going to do it down here for the pit lane with the driver of the number 2 machine finishing in second. That is Peter Touloum. Tony, I do believe you are now caught up with our 3rd place finisher, driver of the 29. That's Corey Stockert.
Corey Stockert started the night in the 8th spot outside row number 4. And Corey, pretty silent night for you. We didn't talk a whole lot about you until the money laps. About 5 laps to go, all of a sudden we go, who is this in 3rd? Oh, it's Corey Stockert, and he's got a fast race car. Did you simply run out of laps?
It was pretty close. I was at the back the whole race, wanted to keep it clean, then at the end found myself up there, and then got a really good jump on the restart with the guys and just headed out from there.
What would have made the difference in the top 2? Obviously, you were right there in their back bumpers. Did you think about laying it to them, or did you think they were going to have their own issue, or was it simply a matter of you were just happy to be where you were at that point?
I was more than happy to be where I was. I didn't quite want to wreck them. I did think they were going to wreck, but I didn't really want to push it with wrecking any of them, just putting myself to the back.
I'm sure you learned a lot about these cars and about racing with some of these guys tonight. Obviously, the big moment of the race was the huge crash in the front straightaway. How did you get through that situation?
I don't even know. I seen it coming up ahead, and I think I went right on the grass below and just barely made it through.
Well, you did whatever you had to do, and it got you ultimately a 3rd spot. Who in the world makes it possible for the number 29 car? And there's a lot of people that help you out and getting to where you're at.
Yeah, of course my parents were letting me stay up this late. Joan and Ziada helped me with a setup. CS Designs provided me with cars and everything, and that's everybody overall that helps me out and got me going in this event and got the setup going and got the car where it needed to be.
Well, congratulations, Corey. A solid run, 3rd spot. We look forward to seeing you again in this race next year, and of course, throughout the rest of this week as well.
Yeah, it was fun racing. Great racing up there, guys.
That's Corey Stocker. He finishes 3rd here tonight, and probably one of the more impressive stories of the evening. Tim Bills, I believe, is also standing by with Evan Pasoko. Evan, Tim made up a lot of spots tonight, I think, is what the story of the box score tells us.
Oh, yeah, definitely the hard charger of the race. Tim Bill is going to come home tonight with a 4th place finish. And Tim, you started this race in 24th position. First and foremost, how'd you find out you were going to get into this race? Tim Bills, it's Evan Pasoko with ETV. Got a copy?
Yeah, you got me?
Yeah, we got you, bud. Walk us through. You started this race in 24th. How'd you make up those 20 spots?
I just tried to stay clean the whole race and stay out of the way, and made it up through there.
Now, obviously, we know it was starting at the back of the pack, and this race had its fair share of incidents in the middle of that pack. Did you have any close calls trying to squeak through some of that stuff?
Yeah, I had one real close there. Went through the grass, and I thought it was all over with there.
Got it there when it's all said and done. And how much does a 4th place finish mean in a race like this with all the hype and, the amount of support that this week of racing has gotten? What does a 4th place finish say about yourself?
To me, this is as good as a win. I'm super happy with this. This was a pretty neat deal. I'm thankful for them putting it on.
Definitely. Well, 4th place after starting 24th is definitely a solid finish. Any sponsors, teammates, friends, anybody you want to thank that helps get that 37 out to the racetrack?
Yeah, I want to thank my sponsor H&H Science Supply and my good buddy Nick Holt for helping me out.
Definitely what works out in the end. Congrats on making it into the top 5. A 4th place finish, an incredible feat considering where you started. So congrats on that. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
Tony, that's going to do it down here with the driver of the number 37 machine, Tim Bills.
Well, thanks, Evan. Certainly sounds like he had a pretty interesting night, to say the least. I have to say, watching somebody come through the field like that is always entertaining. But it's been one fun night between the heat races, the LCQs, the features, both the sprint car racing and the SK modified race, as we always come to expect in any type of World Series of stock car racing action. Very exciting, very much worth the price of admission, and so glad I could be a part of the inaugural World Series of stock car racing and broadcast live here on ETV for these particular events. Look forward to the rest of them during the course of this week and weekend. And of course, as always, make sure if you have a chance and you're anywhere near Florida, stop by New Smyrna Speedway during Speed Weeks, during the actual World Series of stock car racing. All the information, the schedule, ticket pricing, and more is available at newsmyrnaspeedway.org. I want to thank them for their help and support in this event, as well as our other friends and sponsors, including Double Clutch, Von Erichs, the HD Radio Network, the SARA, Printworks, Sturgill Simpson, Whitey Morgan, Loud Pedal Productions, and the USTRA. On behalf of the entire ETV crew, of course, Evan Pasoka up here in the booth with me, and Paul Boswell, who decided he still wanted to go be an administrator, apparently, for the rest of the night and take care of business. I'm Tony Stevens, signing off, saying congratulations to our winners and to our sprint car champion here tonight at the World Series of Stock Car Racing, the inaugural online edition. Until next time, good night, everybody.